Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. We are ready to begin. Welcome, everybody, to the Indie Game Academy. My name is Willem. I am the founder of the Indie Game Academy and your professor for tonight. As always, we are partnered up with Work with Indies. We freaking love Work with Indies. We love all of you. This is one of our favorite places to come and teach because you're just such a good community of people. Tonight, we're talking about portfolio building. What does it take to build a game's portfolio? Now, to be clear, this is not a technical class, meaning I'm not going to show you how to use Wix or HTML or GitHub or any other potential solution to literally put the portfolio together. Instead, this is a discussion on what a good portfolio looks like, what it takes to put a portfolio together, and then we're going to actually have you create a plan for getting all the resources you need and all of the projects you need to build an impressive looking portfolio. All right, I asked, while we were waiting to get the recording started, I asked people to leave terrible dad jokes in the chat, so let's read a couple. Oh, you're cold? Go stand in the corner. It's always 90 degrees. That's a pretty good one. Nice. Renee, I give you 10 imaginary points. Star Burns Red says, what did the goldfish say when he hit a wall? Damn. Nice. Amazing. I give you 7 imaginary points. Flawless says, what do you call a boomerang that doesn't come back? A stick. I think we should vote Flawless off the island. I'm just kidding. That's pretty good. Thank you for writing that down for us, Flawless. I give you 5 imaginary points. And Pale X Horse. What is the difference between a boomerang and my dad? The boomerang comes back. Oh no! All right, I think we should end the event. Actually, I'm in too much pain. Okay. All right, let's actually begin the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I might need to mess with the recording a little bit, actually, because I think even if I do this, the recording is not going to see my screen, right? Is everybody seeing my screen right now? Why couldn't the bicycle stand up by itself? Because it was too tired. Pretty good, pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna have to switch these around. Give me 1 second here. What's gonna happen when I do this? Are you gonna see yourselves? Oh, you are. Oh God, we've entered the mainframe. Let me stream the other screen. Un momento. Hold on, hold on. All right, now y'all should be seeing the presentation, yes? All right, good. Okay, so let's get started. Welcome, y'all. Like I said, this is a class on portfolio building. I'm going to talk a little bit about what makes a good portfolio. I'm going to show you some examples. We're going to review some of yours live, and then we're going to create ourselves a plan to get everything you need to make an awesome portfolio. We are the Indie Game Academy. Just to give you some reference in who's teaching you tonight, we're an online school, gamified online school that empowers people to pave their own path. That's our big thing. We try to help people understand how to make games, and we try to get you to the place in the game industry that you want to be, whether that's starting your own studio or working for another studio. For anybody who's interested, and I'll share this throughout the night, but just in case, wait, that's not right. That's also not right. There we are. Just in case, here's the link to come join the Discord. We would love to have you over there. Okay. We do this through a 3-level system. I'm not really going to talk about that right now. These are our sort of core 3 classes. Tonight is not one of those. We focus on multidisciplinary teamwork, project-based learning, and we are fun as hell. And our goal is to help more indie developers pay their own lives with games. Who would have thought? Such a novel, freaking revolutionary idea. If only we could exist without having to work for other people. What a thought. All right, let's talk about portfolios. So the agenda for tonight, we're going to go through 5 main sections of the night. The first section, I'm going to give you an intro on basically where the game industry is at. This is something that I put together last night that people really seem to appreciate. So I'm going to do it again tonight. I'm going to tell you basically why hiring right now is kind of crap in the game industry, just to help you understand what's going on and also how it is likely to change over time. I'm going to give you some top tips for breaking into the game industry, the stuff that we have found work for our students and that we have learned from other people. We interview a game professional every week in our podcast. So we've now interviewed about 100 people. So we've got good perspective from all of them. And we teach tons of students. We have now taught well over 3,000 students. So we've got some good perspective on what seems to work for people. We're going to talk about choosing your vertical. Basically, niching yourself is one of the best things you can do for yourself at the current time in breaking into the game industry. Then I'm going to do actual portfolio reviews. So we're going to look at some of your portfolios live all together and talk about them. And then we're going to have you make a plan, and that's how we will end the night. Okay, so your main deliverable for today is going to be a plan for building out your portfolio in the next 2 months, a portfolio plan. We're not going to actually get into the HTML or anything like that tonight. For those who don't know me, so that you know a little bit of my background and feel like you can trust some of what I'm saying, my name is Willem Delventhal. I've been working in games for about 10 years now. Currently, I work at Paradox Tectonic, where I'm designing a life sim game, a hyper-moddable life sim game. Paradox is known for City Skylines. What are some of the other ones? Stellaris, Crusader Kings, a few other games like that. I'm also the founder of this school and the founder of my own indie studio as well, called the Delve Bros. Look at that, I even have it with me. We published an AR-enabled dungeon crawling board game, so I've got some perspective both for working for other people and for working for myself. These are some of my games. All right. So the core agreements, I always ask this from people for all of our classes, because it makes me happy, I guess. Whenever we do a class together, I ask that all of you please keep this space as fun as possible. We're here to make video games. Why wouldn't we enjoy learning to make video games? So please, as much as possible, let's enjoy ourselves tonight. Let's make silly dad jokes. Let's make fun of each other lightheartedly. Let's have a good time as we learn tonight. Number 2, let's celebrate as much as possible. Let's all get some pumping. Can I leave some celebratory emojis in chat or on your characters right now? Can I see some celebrations, please? Put them in chat for me. Yeah. What is that? Hamburgers? Oh, bumblebees. Nice. Bumblebee celebration. Yes. Freak scariness. Is your username just screaming? That's amazing. Lots of hands. Fantastic. Yes. Yes. The reason that we celebrate at IGA, the reason this is one of our core agreements, is because this actually helps us remember stuff better, interestingly. Scientifically proven fact, we tend to remember those things that have high emotional impact on us. So by celebrating, we're increasing emotional impact, and therefore we're increasing how much we're going to remember the lesson. And number 3, let's be kind and patient. Work with Indies is great at this, so I don't really need to tell you this. Most of you are really sweet, good people, but sometimes I teach not sweet, good people, and I don't like it. Remember that society and culture and just how a space treats each other, a community treats each other, is very much how you treat them. If you're good to each other, they'll be good to you. If you're a jerk to each other, they'll be a jerk to you. So let's be kind and patient with each other tonight. All right, let's get into the introduction to the game industry. I'm going to try to move a little bit faster tonight so that we can do more portfolio reviews, because that seemed to be the part that people appreciated the most. So let's talk about, though, why the game industry kind of sucks right now. This is a fresh talk. I gave it for the first time the other night here in this Discord, and people really appreciated it. So I'm going to give it again. Game industry sucks right now, and I'm not going to lie. And I'm going to tell you why, because at least it feels better to know why. So I wanted to spend a moment to address the elephant in the room, which is basically that breaking into games is very hard right now, and I'm sorry about that. But don't lose hope. As long as you insist on being a top quality candidate, you can still work your way in, and we're going to trend back in the other direction. The industry will heal eventually. As the game industry stands right now, we're worth about $180 billion, which is crazy because we're like half the age of the film industry, and we're worth more than them already. Suck it, films. We're estimated to reach $250 billion by the end of 2025. Our top market segment is mobile by far, largely because of reach. There's more countries that play games on mobile than there are countries that play games on console and PC. Console is behind mobile, and PC is behind that. For the eagle-eyed among you, you'll notice there is still 1% unaccounted for. That is actually for arcade games. Oh, arcade, how you have fallen. Now in 2020, we had absolutely crazy industry growth. We saw 23% year-over-year growth. For any economists in the room, that is bonkers. That's crazy numbers. The actual US economy increases by 3 to 4% each year. So we outpaced the US economy by 600% during a pandemic. Now that might sound cool, but this little number right there is exactly why we're all screwed right now. Because after we had a full year of being stuck inside and playing video games, we then had 2 years of pretty mediocre growth, 1.4 and 2.1% growth. So then why does hiring suck right now? Well, the short answer is because of that massive growth. This is an actual chart pulled from Statistica, where you can see in 2020, right here, we had just like that bonkers level of growth, more growth than we'd ever seen in a year before, because we had a bunch of people stuck inside playing our video games. But then, being the smart game developers we were, we hired as if we would always have this much money coming in, which I'm sure none of us could have predicted is not accurate. So we hired a bunch of people to make sure we could keep up with all these new users and all these new game players. And then a little thing called lockdown ending happened, and everybody went back outside and stopped playing video games. And so we had way too many people hired. We had very high expenses. Expenses were way too high, and we did not have enough revenue actually coming in. People were not playing games. They had already bought a lot of games in 2020, so they were kind of cooled off on actual purchasing. And even after that ended, people still just had a lot of options and were not into it the same way they were when they were literally trapped inside. So this right here is exactly why we're seeing a falling of the game industry right now. Basically, our expenses have been way too high because of all those people we hired around 2020, and our income has been too low because of a bunch in 2020, everybody went crazy. I don't know if you remember this. There was all kinds of talk about AI. There was all kinds of talk about VR. There was all kinds of talk about the metaverse. And so we had a boom, a big one in the game industry, but then it faded away as people went back outside. And now we're still dealing with the consequences. Now, the important question of this thing, lost my government stipends too. I'm sorry, Tyler. Also, good to see you, Tyler. It's been a bit. So the big question, the important question is, will it recover? I don't think so, actually. I think we're screwed. Just kidding. Yes, of course it will recover. But it may take a little bit of time. This is Justin Williams. He is one of our professors for our level 3 program starting next week. He'll be teaching our students basically about recruiting and how you get hired into games. And when I was having a conversation with him, I asked him about exactly this phenomenon. We were talking about it, shooting the shit. And he said, I predict we'll be back to pre-pandemic hiring levels by the end of 2023. I think I'm curious if he would amend that, because that was a couple of months ago he said that. I'm curious if he would amend that these days, because I think that's probably optimistic. But I would guess that by, at the very latest, probably mid 2025, so about a year and a half, I would bet that's when we're going to see it really like stable and good. I do think we'll start to see it turn around in 2024 for sure. But by, I would say, mid 2025, that's when it'll be like back to normal and we won't need to talk about this freaking shit anymore. Yeah, I'm sorry that that happened during graduation. You can still totally get hired into games. And also, periods of financial strife are often when startups do the best. Just saying. Do whatever you want, but you know. All right. So let's talk about actually trying to break in. Here, I'm going to answer a question, actually. I will answer some questions as we go. But I got to make sure that we're also moving through the deck. Would you say that it's also hard for mid-sized studios to sustain currently due to inability to reach quality expectations due to lack of budget and therefore not able to gain back the money that the production of large games cost? Maybe. That's sort of hard to say. I think in general, studios are facing a lot of pressure right now because money was invested when everybody thought that 2020 was this like huge, massive boon in the game industry, even though like, of course, a boom is going to eventually end. And so there is a lot of pressure for people to perform. I actually got laid off, to commiserate with all of you. I got laid off about 6 months ago. It took me about 5 or 6 months to get a new job. I now have an awesome new job. So there you go. Everybody feel good about that. Everybody be excited about the potential of you getting a new job. And they, at some point during the interview, said to me, or during the exit interview, during the point where they were telling me that I was fired, they were like, yeah, well, you know, it's costing us $1 million a month to run this team. And my response was, I don't care. Why would I care about that? But that's a little bit of perspective on how they're feeling right now. Man, we're spending all this money and our investors are giving us less money. What are we going to do? Not to justify it, because they could have predicted this and they could have better prepared for it, for sure. Let's unionize. I didn't say that. All right. There are 3 easy things that we always recommend to help break into the game industry. Those 3 things are these. Oh, we should talk about them. All right. So number 1 is to build out your portfolio. A portfolio, no matter who you are, whether you're an audio person or a producer or an engineer or a game designer, no matter who you are, a portfolio matters. It is essentially a requirement in the game industry at this time and probably forever. Number 2 is to network like crazy. If you don't already know the stat, 80% of game industry jobs are filled by referral. 4 out of 5 game industry jobs are filled by referral. I was looking at Amir Satvat the other day. If you don't already know him, I'm going to link that right away as a resource because that dude's amazing. one of my favorite people in the game industry. And he did a bunch of math for us to determine how likely it is for somebody to get a job by cold applying, meaning by applying without knowing anybody at that company. And he determined that less than 1 in 1,000 applications result in getting a job from a cold application. Less than 1 in 1,000. So at this point in time, networking is basically how you get a job. That's how I got this job. That's how most people are getting work. So you need to be connecting with people. You need to be putting them in your network. You need to be using those connections. Number 3 is when you are applying, apply aggressively. If it takes 1,000 applications to get a job, well, you got to submit 1,000 applications. We've been doing some research amongst our community, and it sounds like it takes a little over somewhere between 50 and 80 applications to get a single interview. So if you aren't applying to 10 to 20 jobs a week, it's going to take a long time to get interviewed. And I know that's a lot, and I know it's challenging to even find that many sometimes, but as best you can, just throw it all at the wall and see what sticks. All right, so our recommended path in general for portfolio building is this. Basically, number 1, learn your tech stack. Anybody know what a tech stack is? Yes, these slides will be shared. In fact, I'll just share them right now and follow along. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to spoil it. I will share them after, though. I will share the slides as well as the recording, as well as any links that I share with you. I'll put it in the event chat. So watch the event chat after this for any links that you might want. Anybody know what a tech stack is? Somebody write in the chat for me a simple definition of tech stack. I just want to make sure people know what I'm saying. Your tools. Yeah, pretty much. Your tech stack is all of the tools you use to build the game. So first of all, of course, the game engine. So this game is built in Unity. That's a part of our tech stack, or Unreal, or Godot, or any other game engine. The next one is the actual coding language, and whatever software you're using to interact with that coding language. So we're coding in C# with Visual Studio. The next one would be your ticketing software. We are tracking what's going on in Jira. The next one would be like 3D modeling software, anything else that you're using to actually build the game. Your tech stack is going to be different depending on your profession. So if you're an engineer or a programmer or a visual artist, but in general, the first thing you have to do if you haven't already done this is to learn your tech stack. Makes sense. Learn those technical tools that people in your profession are using. And the way you learn which tools you need to know is you go and look at job descriptions. So go look at a job description for an animator. If you're an animator, look at the tools they ask for. If you don't know them, learn them. Once you know the tech stack, I want you to build 2 to 3 48-hour games. Everybody knows what a game jam is, right? You got to know what a game jam is. I'm going to be offended if you don't know what a game jam is. Somebody write what a game jam is down in the chat while I get links for you. It's what you apply on a game bread. Okay, well, we already voted what's their face off the island. I think Ed, I'm going to vote for Ed as the next person off the island. That's what I think. No, Ed. A game jam is a dedicated period of time. It's basically a hackathon. It's a dedicated period of time where you have to make a game. Also, thank you, Ed, for that wonderful dad joke. So typically you'll have 48 hours is sort of the classic time frame to build a game, but sometimes you'll find jams that are longer than that. So this is itch.io/jams, phenomenal resource for finding a jam at any time. So here's like a dojo game jam. Looks like this is 2 days long. I could click into this. I'm going to get info. It's going to be an interesting, unique jam. There's a community section so I can go and find other people to work with. Hello, I need friend or whatever. So this is a phenomenal resource to start out with. That said, Ludum Dare is by far the most well-recognized and well-respected game jam. It only happens every 3 months, but that might be something you put on your calendar. And then Global Game Jam is another well-recognized one. So I'll pull out all 3 of those for you. There you go. So I want you to build, if you have not already, 2 to 3 fully finished, completed games. That is going to be the central theme of tonight. All of those practice projects that you started and then never finished, and don't worry, I have 1,000 of them too, those don't count. I'm sorry. They'll kind of count a little bit, especially if it's like a technical demo or something like that. But if it's just kind of a half-completed game, that mostly won't count on your portfolio, and in fact will probably count against you. So a big part of what I want you to take away from tonight is The games that you put on your portfolio need to be finished from start to finish. They need to be an actual released game. You should even charge money for them. That'll make them look more official, even if you make $0. And they should be released to an actual store, iOS, Android, Steam. Itch.io is acceptable, but it's going to be worth less than any of the other stores that are out there. All right, so 2 to 3 48-hour games, and do that with a team. Do that with a team, because that way you're building team working skills at the same time you're building game development skills. Once you do 2 to 3 48-hour game jams or small scale game jams, I want you to do 1 to 2 mid-scale game jams or long form. That means 2 to 12 weeks in total length of time. Then I want you to, now that you've got a couple of games, I want you to build a beautiful looking portfolio website with your top 3 to 5 games and only your top 3 to 5 games. We'll talk about that more in a bit. And then now that you have a good looking portfolio, that's when you just go hard as heck at applying and networking. All right, so making games matters. Recruiters can and will play your video games. They probably won't actually play, but they'll want to know it can be played and that it is actually released. Build games that you are proud of. So if you work on a game and you're like, this is kind of shit, move on to the next game or keep polishing it until it is not shit. And then put it somewhere that it's easy to play, preferably on an actual store, iOS, Steam, Android, Oculus Rift, wherever, GOG. But if not that, at least put it up on itch.io or some other website so that it can be easily played and accessed. Think of these as showcases. So for instance, I've mentioned this example a lot recently, and I mentioned it the other night. I was in an interview process with Firaxis. Whew, dream company, baby. The people who made Civilization, if you're unfamiliar. And I got through the first screening call and I was like, yes, I'm going to work at Firaxis. I'm so pumped. And then I got an email that said, bye, we don't want you. And the main reason they said bye, they were nice enough to at least give me feedback. The main reason they said goodbye was because I didn't have enough experience working on strategy games. I hadn't worked on enough strategy games. Kind of makes sense. So one other mindset to bring into your practice projects is target the companies you really want to work for. If you really want to work at Niantic, then build Pokemon Go or your own version of Pokemon Go. That sounds like a challenging project, but you're going to learn a ton, and then you're going to look so much better when you are applying at Niantic. Do that for whatever company you want to work for. All right, tip number 2 is network like crazy. Like I said, 80% filled by referral. Oh, it's tragic. It hurts in the heart, but is what it is. So going to events online and in person, cold calling, building your network over time, and just like actually using that network are a big part of breaking in games. This is a list of game conferences. Man, I'm getting so many messages. I'm so sorry. Freaking Slack should be silent. Let me turn that off really quickly. Shut up. Okay, I turned it off, hopefully. All right, we're back to it. So GameConf Guide is a great website for finding conferences that you can go to. It includes real life ones, which are going to do best. That's going to be where you connect with people the best in real life. I know you're a game developer and you don't like to connect with people in real life. Neither do I. Why do you think I'm talking to you through this screen right now? But it's a part of it. You got to deal with it. Then when you do go to events, grab people's information, connect with them on LinkedIn. That's become my process. Every single time I meet somebody cool, I connect with them on LinkedIn, always and forever. And that way I am constantly collecting cool people to reach out to. Then this is a part that I didn't realize was like special or something that people hadn't realized before. But when you are applying for a job, here's how you use your LinkedIn network. So let's say we go to Work with Indies because it's the best job site in the universe, and we find some cool job we want to work for. Let's say Green Sky. I was using it as an example the other night. So I'm going to grab the name of the company. This is how you network. This is how you use your network when you are applying. I'm going to grab the company. I'm going to come to LinkedIn. And you would think that I would click into Green Sky Games, but no, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to click on People. And then once I click on People, I'm going to click Connections first and second. And what this is going to do is it's going to show me anybody in my network who either literally works at Green Sky, which is kind of uncommon, or who at least knows somebody who works at Green Sky. So this shows me right now a senior producer at Green Sky, a animator at Green Sky, a founder at Green Sky. and I'm not a first connection with any of these people, meaning I am not directly connected with them yet. So once again, you would think that now what we do is we connect with this person. And I could do that, but I have another way that seems to work better. And I have had, our students have reported that this seems to work better. Instead of trying to connect with the person, you ask a friend to connect with them for you. So what I'll do is, first of all, I'll target one of these people who I think I would have a good chat with and who might enjoy talking to me too. I'm a game designer, so probably actually these first three people I wouldn't even look at. I might have a good chat with Mac. Maybe me and Mac could have a good chat, but probably I'm going to go looking for specifically a designer on this list. It looks like they may not even use the term designer, or at least they're not at the top of the game. So how about I click on Johanna instead? He's a developer who works at GreenSky. Anytime you click into one of these people, you'll notice that LinkedIn always shows you mutual connections, people that you know that you are connected with who know this person. So here's what you actually do. You search for the name of the company, you search for people who work there, you find 3 people who look like you could have a good chat with them. Johanna looks cool. He actually looks a little mad, but we're not going to judge him. He's got a great sense in ear fashion. I don't know. We're going to click into this mutual connection section, and this is going to list everybody that I now have a first connection with, that I am already connected with, who knows Johanna. Ideally, one of these 3 people is going to be somebody that you know well, who you're a good friend with, or you've worked with, or something like that. But even if you don't, these 3 are actually people I don't know super well. But Austin, I have had chats with. I think we talked online at some point, if I remember right. So I do know him to some capacity. So what I'm going to actually do finally is I will click in a message and I'll say, yo, Austin, how's it going? I noticed that you know Johanna. I don't know if I'm spelling that right. Please make sure you spell people's names right. I was wondering if you could do an intro for me. And that's it. And the reason we do this is because psychologically, if a random stranger sends you a message on the internet, mostly you go, who is this freaking person? Make them go away. But if a friend of yours reaches out and says, hey, I have this person who's asking for a connection. How do you feel about connecting with them? Suddenly, you're not a stranger, you're a friend of a friend. So this is how you use your LinkedIn network to find connections and network no matter where you are in the world. That is a big part of what I recommend you do. All right, we have a couple questions. How polished should a project be before we move on to the next one? That's a great question, and there is no answer to it. There is no correct answer. A fun quote for you, one of my favorites, is that a game is never finished, it is only abandoned. At some point, you just stop working on it. I would say that as long as the game is playable from start to finish, it has a clear beginning and a clear end state, a win and a lose, and the gameplay is at least satisfactory, and the visuals are at least satisfactory, then I'd say you're done and you can move on. If you can't finish the game, or if the game is too buggy, like you're mentioning, or if one of the mechanics that like makes the game important isn't actually in, you have more work to do. If it's playable from start to finish, you can call it done and move on. Alec asks, how do you start from scratch if you don't have any mutual connections at all? Just start going to stuff. It really is like grunt work. Imagine an old school door-to-door salesman. You walk up to a house, you knock, and you say, hey, do you feel like buying my video games or whatever? Imagine it's that just online. That's all you're doing. So go to events. Meetup.com is another great one for finding local communities. Here you go. Join Discords and Facebook groups. I already gave you all the link to the Indie Game Academy Discord, but here it is again. Join other Discords though, not just these ones, not just Work With Indies and not just IGA. Join some that are specific to your job. Maybe find a community that's just engineers or a community that's just animators or whatever. Go join Facebook groups as well. Just any way that you can actually get FaceTime with people, either digitally or in person, that's what you should be doing. And just anytime you do get some FaceTime, strike up a conversation, start talking with them. Yeah, the local IDGA chapter is a great point. Can I just, yeah, perfect. That is a great point. In most like significant hubs of the world, there's an IGDA chapter that you can go and hang out with and meet people there. The biggest thing though is just try to lower your defenses and open those conversations and start to make friends with people. And I know that can be hard. It's a skill though, just like anything else. You'll get better at it over time. All right. Let's keep talking about stuff. So that's networking. Find those people, put them in LinkedIn, use them. And then also the last part of this is, I know using them sounds a bit like crappy, but keep them alive as well. Remember that these are real people. Talk to them now and then, check in on them, especially people who really did something for you. Let them know that you're grateful. Be humble. If they tell you they don't want to talk to you, leave them be. Do your best to really show gratitude and make genuine connections with people. All right, and the last tip of the 3 is to apply aggressively. Don't wait until you're the perfect candidate. Start applying now. Let the recruiter decide if you're perfect or not. This will teach you your weaknesses, and you just never know. Sometimes somebody's going to accept you even when you're not the perfect candidate. I know it can be scary to apply and you feel like you want to have all the things in a row before you do, but I run into too many developers who are just too scared to start. Throw that out. It's a numbers game. 1 in 1,000 right now. So just start applying. Don't let anything stop you. Apply frequently and consistently. 10 to 20 a week is usually what I recommend because it feels like a reasonable balance of doing a lot, but not doing so much you're going to burn out. And cast a wide net as much as possible. Something I've been recommending to more people today, even though it is like kind of sad to recommend, is if you can find a non-game industry job that applies to what you're doing, you should take it. The game industry is a bit crap right now, and so if you can find somebody to pay you to do work that is similar to what you'll do in games, that is worth doing for the next year or 2 years. You can always quit if you find a game industry job. You can keep applying to game industry jobs when you have that job, but having a steady income and an actual thing to put on your resume, a job to put on your resume, helps a lot, and it just removes a lot of stress from your life. So cast a wide net. Don't be scared to make some beautiful art for a marketing agency. That's fine. That's still a step towards games. Think of it like a step towards games. Yes, Chase says it can definitely be worth it. I agree, Chase. Imagine writing a cover letter to be tailored every application 20 times a week. A small tip for that, I do write a customized tailored cover letter for every single application I send. And when I am looking for work, I probably apply for 20 to 30 jobs a week. And the way I do that is every single one of my cover letters is 3 paragraphs long. The first and the third paragraph are the exact same for every single person I send it to. And the second paragraph is customized for every single place. So I'm writing 1 paragraph per job application, which still takes some time, but is a lot more realistic. Okay, I think that's the things. Oh, and in addition, cast a wide net horizontally, meaning jobs that aren't quite what you're looking for, but also vertically. Apply for jobs that you're probably not qualified for, let them figure it out. And apply for some jobs that are don't be too concerned about going down. I was a senior designer at my last job. I'm a game designer now, meaning I'm no longer a senior, but it's 100% a step up. It's okay, don't let your ego stop you from taking a good job. All right, an alternative perspective on applying that I wanted to bring up here. There's this dude who I also recommend you follow on LinkedIn. Tyvek. He works over at Sucker Punch, and he's just like my like style for those who don't know me on LinkedIn. And actually, I guess I'll share mine for anyone who doesn't. I sort of assumed you already did, but of course, this is Work with Indies and not IGA. So my style tends to be like hyper supportive. You got this. Let's make it happen, which I think is very valuable. But Tyvek is the exact opposite. We're actually mortal enemies, but we love each other. He has a much more sort of hard style, like this is how it is, you have to work really hard. He's much more, he's much more like telling you how it is. And he has an alternative perspective on applying for jobs. My perspective is apply for as many as you possibly can. His perspective is you should only be applying for a very small handful. And the reason he suggests that is because if you just apply for a very small handful, you can do things like joining their Discord and getting to know the developers and creating relationships with the developers and nursing that over a long period of time, a couple of months, until a job opening appears that you're a potentially good candidate for. And then you have referrals from engineers and artists, et cetera, who actually know you. So what I would recommend, the reason I bring this up is because I want to give you multiple perspectives. What I usually recommend is quantity over quality. Oh wait, the other way around. What I usually recommend is quality over quantity. He recommends quality over. I don't know. I'm getting confused by it. I usually recommend applying for a lot of stuff. He usually recommends applying for just a couple. I think basically just try both. It might be worth applying for a lot, and then the ones that you really want, you're spending more time with, some combination or hybrid of the two. But I just give you that to give you some alternate perspectives. All right. And be sure to have the holy three. Somebody mentioned cover letters. You should write a custom cover letter for every single application. I know it's a pain in the ass. You can make it so that the cover letter is mostly the same for everybody. Just customize it enough so it feels custom. Your resume and portfolio can be the same for every job. If you are going to apply for multiple types of jobs, if you're going to apply for engineering and design or something, make sure you have a separate resume and a separate portfolio for those two things, and make sure that your resume and your portfolio are distinctly different. This is an engineering portfolio and this is a design portfolio, and these are two different things. Nothing will kill your application chances faster than being a generalist. I'm sorry. We all want to work on many different things and we all have many potentials inside of us. And I think it's diminutive for people to tell us that we can only be one thing, but in one way or another, it is statistically proven that niching yourself down helps. And that is actually what we're talking about in the next section. Basically, what is your area of expertise? I'm sorry to say, but choosing a niche is essentially required. We've now interviewed, like 100 professional devs, and we've worked with 3,000 students. And almost universally, they say that they look for candidates who are niched to that particular job. So that means you shouldn't just be a game designer. You should instead be a 2D level designer who focuses on horror games or whatever. The reason that we do this is because just think about it from the perspective of the hiring manager. If I have literally 500 people who applied for this job, and 400 of them are game designers, and only 100 of them are level designers, if I need a level designer and I have 500 applications to consider, I'm sure as hell just getting rid of those other 400, right? I'm not even going to consider them. So you have to niche yourself. This hurts me a little bit because I like working on a lot of different things. My last 2 times ago, when I was applying, when I first got hired at IMVU, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a designer, an engineer, or a producer because I had done all 3 of those things. I went all in on game design and wound up getting the job. It's very important to niche yourself. We're going to talk about 3 different terms to help you niche yourself: your profession, your specialization, and your niche. So first things first, probably most of you know what vertical or profession you are. These are the 9 that work within these lists, and we actually use them at Indie Game Academy as well. So thank you, Work with Indies, for giving us these 9. But these cover the vast majority of gaming jobs in a nice 9 convenient categories. So which verticals are all of you? Write in the chat for me which one you are. And for anyone who's listening but not watching, the 9 that are listed here are art and animation, audio, business and ops, design, marketing and community, product, programming, QA and CS, writing and narrative. All right, looks like most people know. Raise your hand for me if you are not sure which of these 9 is your primary one. We got at least 1, we got 2. So a couple people aren't sure. Most people know though, which is great. So for those who don't know, you are earlier in the process than the rest of people. And I don't say that to make you feel bad. That's just where you're at. I think you probably know that. If you don't know which one is for you yet, you got to figure it out for sure. I would recommend just making some games. And for each game that you make, focus on being that thing. So if you're like, I could be a programmer, but I also could be a producer and I'm not sure, I would make 2 small games with a team each and be a producer in one and be a programmer on the other, and don't cross those. So just be a producer on one team and just be a programmer on the other team, and just see which one feels right and then follow that. That's what I recommend if you're uncertain. For those who are certain, great. You already have your first question answered, which is your profession. We at the Indie Game Academy like to call it vertical. So this is your high level. This is what you're doing at a high level. Next, we're going to talk about specialization. So each person has a profession, but they also have a specialization within that profession. So this is Hitmarker. Hitmarker is another one of those really awesome resources I will share with you. Here it is. In what category is rigging? That would be under art. And more specifically, that would be under animation. All right, way to go. I lost my sting. There it is. So this is Hitmarker, another great resource. They are a gaming jobs website. They basically give lots of advice on how to break into games and how to build your skills out. Very much recommend them. This is their jobs list that they share a couple times a year. They continually update it. Fairly well known. You may have seen it go around LinkedIn or around the internet. And they just break up our different high-level professions into smaller specializations. So for instance, game design is one of the ones that I know a lot of people want to join. Under game design, they have many different specializations, including combat design, economy design, interaction design, level design, monetization design, multiplayer, narrative, quest, sound, systems, technical, UI, UX, world. So there's many different specializations of game design. I myself tend to be either a systems designer, very number heavy, trying to balance economies and things like that, or I am a content designer where I'm building quests and items and like crafting systems and stuff like that. All right, technical art. Anyone know if this is recorded? It will indeed be recorded. I'm going to miss you, Trepidation. Come join our Discord and we'll see you there. I'm stopping for a drink. How do you be a producer and stay busy in a game jam? A lot easier than you would think. Keeping people on task, negotiating what needs to get done. Perhaps if you do have downtime, trying to build some marketing, build some hype for your game. I get asked this about game design too. Like, well, what do I do after I design the game? Oh, you sweet summer child, there is so much to do forever. And the same thing is true of production. If you have not worked as a role, just assume that there's a lot more to it than you think there is, because that's true for basically all of them. All right, so this is a specialization. It is a subcategory of a larger category. One thing that Hitmarker doesn't list, which I find a little frustrating, is narrative. A lot of the times people consider writing a narrative as under the game design category. I don't think that's quite accurate, because they might do similar things, but they are two distinct parts of how a game works. Game design is more mechanical. Here's what the player is literally going to do. And narrative is more, of course, narrative. It's telling the story of what the player is going to experience. As far as specializations in narrative, there are a few. There's world building, there's dialogue building, there's character building. There's many different aspects of narrative that you could potentially come up with. All right, now you can go even further than specialization to niche yourself. And this is where you really talk about sort of your special sauce, the thing that you do that most other people don't do. So this is why I talk about this sort of like three levels of specialization. You have your profession itself. So that's designer, engineer, artist, animator. Then you have your specialization. So AI engineer, backend engineer, gameplay engineer, or level designer or gameplay designer. And then you have your niche. So the niche is your special sauce, like I said. So for instance, when I talk about my own niche, I tend to work in edutech and games adjacent. I tend to use games in weird circumstances. For whatever reason, that has become my thing. I also tend to work on wholesome games and sort of more lighthearted, energetic games. You probably have a niche already without even really realizing you do. So either maybe you really like working on horror games, or you have a lot of experience with like platformers or puzzle games. Maybe you really enjoy working on like grimdark, gritty stuff. Maybe you really enjoy working with children or with a specific user base. Maybe you, for some reason, are amazing at designing games for seniors. There is something that you are uniquely good at in your profession that you can talk about as your niche. You have to be a little bit careful with this, because you have to, of course, be sure that there are actually jobs who are going to want that. I don't know how many people are designing games for the elderly, but probably there's some. And the reason, once again, that we niche is because then you're going to be at the top of the stack for the people who need that. For the two companies out there that are building games for the elderly, you are the perfect game designer, right? So I want you to now start a portfolio plan. So grab yourself a piece of paper or open up a text document or the Note app on your phone, somewhere that you can record some stuff, because for the rest of the night, I'm going to have you write some stuff down. And the first thing I want you to write down is your profession, followed by your specialization, followed by your niche. So, hello, I am Willem Delventhal. I am a systems designer that focuses on edutech, games adjacent, and more wholesome or lighthearted video games. All right, and then when you have them, add them to your portfolio plan. And I would also love to see some of these written in chat so that we have some examples. So write down in chat your profession, your specialization, and your niche. I'll call some of these out. Casual mobile games. I like making horrible stuff. Hopefully that means like horror stuff, or do you just mean like bad games, like not good games? Interesting niche. Like I said, got to be careful that there are jobs that need that. I assume that was a joke though. I love it, Ricardo. These are going to be uploaded to YouTube. One of them is already up. Artist, 3D environment, level artist, cozy games. Love that. That is perfect Tiny Justice. So Tiny Justice is an artist. They could make a portfolio where they're just talking about being an artist, but to maximize the chances of them breaking into the game industry, they should instead make a portfolio about being a 3D environmental level artist that focuses on cozy games. And by the way, usually we would take out level from that term, Tiny Justice. So we would probably just call you a 3D environment artist. All right. Game designer, systems designer, horror/weird games. Love it. So Rogue P is a systems designer focusing on weird, disturbing game concepts. Now, if I'm building a weird, disturbing game concept, I know that Ricardo is going to be the right person to hire. Ed is a physics programmer specializing in FPS games. HAPK is a game programmer with experience in VR games to train cognition. That's super interesting. I would broaden that a bit, HAPK. I would broaden that probably actually to my own specialization, which is edutech, because cognition is too small of a niche. Probably there's not many people doing it. There are some, but there's not too many. Amory is a dialogue system programmer with a specific interest in horror/unconventional games. Dialogue system programmer is very interesting, and I would argue once again is probably too niched because there's just not going to be that many jobs that need that. There's going to be one or two, yes, but that sounds like something that you would do for a couple of months and then wouldn't need for the rest of the game. So just be careful of just make sure that whatever your niche is, there are jobs that need it. Go looking around for them. This doesn't need to be final. This is just your best guess. For right now. Artist, concept art, sci-fi horror, nice. Concept artist, sci-fi stylized, good. 2D artist, pixel animation for creatures and characters, awesome. All right, so now we know how to niche ourselves. So let's actually talk about building the portfolio now. We're gonna spend a moment. I'm gonna review a couple of really good portfolios that I brought with us as an example, and then we're gonna review some of yours together, and then I'm gonna tell you how to actually build a portfolio out. Okay, so let's start with Surya's. This is, some of you who have followed me on LinkedIn or are in our Discord have probably seen me post this one before because I love this one. This is a great example. It's a good place for us to start. This is Surya. Surya Narendran is a member of our community, just a really good dude. He's actually one of our moderators, and he is a game designer. You'll notice, by the way, that he doesn't niche as well as I think he probably could. But he does talk about how he's drawn to projects that make a world a better place. So you could argue that this is his niche. But to improve this a little bit, I think he could immediately talk about a specialization within game design. So instead of game designer, I would encourage him to write mechanical designer or gameplay designer or something like that. But I like that he has a little bit of info about him. I like that he has a headshot at the top of the page. I like that he has very clear contact information at the top of the page. And then here is the biggest thing to take away from Surya's page. Each one of the games that he lists is a fully completed title from start to finish. It has links to go and play, and it tells you exactly what he actually did for that project, and it shows you attractive GIFs and videos of the project. You should think about your portfolio like it's a sales page for a recruiter to skim through. It should basically always be a single scrollable page. And if you want space for other stuff, put those on other pages. So for instance, I believe, yeah, so on Surya's, oh, it's actually broken. I would just remove that then. That is definitely something I would remove if I were Surya. But so you could have other pages with other games, but I would put that off on the side. Put that a button, make that a button that somebody could click into and go look at. For the most part, a single scrollable page of actual finished titles. Include links to play and include any metrics and stats that make the game look more impressive. So for instance, Surya mentions his team size. That definitely matters. He talks about the engine itself, and he talks about what he actually did on the project, designing all of our Pikmin-inspired game systems and mechanics, level design for a 3D miniature wetland world, maintaining extensive design and technical documentation. All right, let's look at a different one. Big takeaway, these are completed game projects, and he's made them very attractive and very clear. Number one takeaway that I've already said to you, but I will remind you, is that your games need to be fully finished games that are playable and released to a store. That matters more than basically anything else. Lane says, is an ArtStation profile cutting it? I have a hard time with that one because animators and artists in general, we being hiring managers and recruiters don't necessarily need to see your finished games to know that you can do the work. An engineer, it's hard for us to judge if you can do the work without seeing an actual game. A game designer, it's really hard to know if you can do the work without playing the actual game. A 3D model artist, I can see your 3D model and know whether it's a good or bad model. That said, Alec Webb says, oh, that's good news. That said, it is still going to help you to have fully completed games, and recruiters still care about your released titles. So I actually think if you have the time and the energy, that I would make a portfolio not on ArtStation, and have ArtStation maybe be something you link to on your portfolio or that you include pictures from, but ultimately you should be including actual finished titles as much as possible. And that's true for everybody. I don't care if you're a producer, QA, customer service. If you have released games, it's going to help you. All right, let's look at some others. So I've got, is this the one? That's not the one. Where is it? You? This one? Ah, there it is. All right. So this is actually a random one I found on the internet. So don't hesitate to go searching around to try to find portfolios as examples, especially for your specific area of interest in your specific profession. So if you're trying to find a narrative design portfolio, just start Googling around until you find one. This is Shane Breedveld. No idea who this dude is, but he sure does have a nice portfolio. This is a games producer portfolio. And you can see that once again, he's got published projects. And that is the main thing he's focusing on. These are actually released playable games. You can play them in different locations. As you go further down, it looks like they're not released anymore. But for the most part, especially at the top of the page, these are actually released playable games. He's got nice screenshots. He's got a video I can click into to actually watch. Funnily enough, this Alien Removal Division, I actually know somebody who worked on it, which is super random. He's talking about some of the same stuff that Surya is talking about. So he's almost like writing a little mini resume for each game. Here's what I did. Here's how I contributed. Once again, think of it as a sales page. How are you a good product for this person, for this company? And he talks about project duration and team size, which will matter for a producer, right? And he shows off all of his completed games. Completed games. I keep saying it. I've seen a bunch of questions. I'm going to leave this up for a second, answer a couple of questions. At what point should you count experience? Surya says 4 years of experience. That is such a good question. Anything that you can justify. When somebody says you need 3 years of experience, I still say, don't tell any recruiters that I am applying to. I still say that I have, what is it, like 15 years of experience. But the only reason I claim that is because technically I released my first playable professional game, like it got bought when I was 15. So I have 15 years of experience, but as far as working for other people professionally in the game industry, I'm more at like 10. That I actually do these days tend to say 10 instead of 15, but for a long time I counted it all the way back to 15. And I would actually urge you to do that too. Never lie on your portfolio, never lie on your resume, never lie in an interview, but you can absolutely bend the truth a little bit because the requirements to break into this industry are bullshit. And if you can do the job, it doesn't matter how many years you were working, right? So I would bend the truth at least a little. Don't lie, don't be disingenuous. But definitely, like, if you've been using Unity for 4 years, even if it wasn't professional, that's 4 years of experience, right? Okay. Where to build a digital portfolio? Good question. I would use Wix. We actually have an event coming up. Can I easily find it for you? How can I get that? Are we doing that inside the Discord? Sorry, give me 1 second. Yes. Okay. So this is our portfolio jam, which is happening this weekend. In our portfolio jam, it's a game jam, except instead of building a game, you're building a portfolio. This is something I was going to invite all of you to, but during the kickoff event, which is tomorrow night, we actually hired somebody to come teach people how to use Wix. So if you're really not sure about what to build your portfolio in, I would recommend Wix. It's not a perfect solution. It doesn't do all the bells and whistles. Sometimes it really sucks, but it's super, super, super easy to use. So that's why I recommend it above anything else. That said, yeah, come join our portfolio jam, y'all. Sign up. So if you sign up for this, you'll get the invite to come to the training session where we're hiring that person to come teach people how to use Wix. That said, there's a million different ways you can build a portfolio. You can do it pure HTML. You can use like GitHub or other hosting services. You can use Squarespace. Basically anything you can build a website on, you can make a portfolio in. I tend to recommend Wix only because it's easiest, not because it's necessarily best. All right, other questions? Where to build? Yes. ArtStation, yeah. Unfortunately, I would say not ArtStation if possible. More focused on the game design and engineering side of development, but what do you think of portfolios on ArtStation? Oh, same question. Yeah, I mean, I think they count. The art in general, that entire field is definitely one where something like ArtStation is going to be the most acceptable, but I would say fully finished games are going to matter more. I know that they're going to matter more. How can you make so many finished games before you even get a job? So easy. Game jams, work with friends, side projects. And this is, by the way, one of the reasons it's expected, because you don't need any money to make a game. Yes, it helps, for sure. But I'm not talking about professional games where we're trying to pitch something and get something published. I'm talking about practice projects. You want them to be as nice as possible. I even recommend you charge money for them, even if you aren't making a bunch of money. But you can find team members to build games with super easily and realistically. I know it takes extra effort. I know that can be frustrating, but instead get excited about making games because you can make games for free right now with friends without a job. And you should. That's essentially the core takeaway of this talk, actually. All right, should you include published projects if you worked as a different role than you're currently applying for? That's a great question. I would try to modify them as much as possible. So for instance, if you acted as a producer on this project, but now you're trying to be an engineer, I would try to talk about the parts of it that were more engineer-y. So even if you weren't literally coding, maybe you were doing code review as the producer or something, maybe talk about that. If you do have games where you were actually the engineer on it or whatever your role is that you're applying for, that's better, definitely. But you can definitely, it's the same kind of mindset of like bending the truth a bit. Don't lie, but focus on the parts that you know they're going to care about. All right. Harder to find opportunities for music composition in comparison to sound design. Classify myself as an audio director type of person. Is that vagueness working against me? Yes, probably. I would say, once again, you want to niche as much as possible. So you should be, an audio director is a real role, but I guess something to mention about those high level roles. So a lot of people will list like, I'm the CEO because I started an indie studio that's just me. I get that. And that's very, that feels good. But at the same time, many recruiters are going to look down on that and think that you're kind of lying to them. So I would avoid audio director unless you have literally been an audio director for a professional project. Instead, I would say composer or sound designer or something like that. All right. Does the internship and little jobs like the ones you have in uni count? Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Anything that you can list as an actual job, especially where you work with other people, counts. It's all just like a tiering system of how much it counts. It's going to matter the most to have worked at an actual studio where you got paid. Definitely, of course. But it will still matter that you worked at a non-games company and you did well there. And it will still matter that you worked at a studio, or excuse me, at a school and did stuff for them. It all matters. It's just a question of delivering them, showing them the absolute best that you can muster. This is part of why we recommend that you only show your top 3 to 5 games on your portfolio. Think about it like a game designer. If I was designing a pathing system, there's a bunch of paths for the player to go down. I wouldn't design 15 paths if I didn't have the capability of making all 15 of those paths really fun and satisfying. If 10 of those paths suck, I'm just going to cut those and we'll have 5 paths that are really awesome. You only want the recruiter to see those really awesome paths. You only want them to see your best projects, your best work. So all of that will count. An internship that you did at school totally counts, 100%. But it's just a question of which counts more. And the hierarchy is professional jobs in the game industry count the most, period. Released titles that are with an actual studio and made significant money count the most after that. Then probably professional jobs in the technical field are going to count third. Then released games that are published and monetized, probably fourth. And those you can get for free, which is why I'm focusing on them so much. And then after that is non-applicable jobs. So if you were a janitor, maybe, or something like that. I don't mean to talk down on janitors, but just something that's clearly not making games. That still counts. It's just pretty low on the totem pole. It still shows that you're employable. It still shows that you're a good person. You show up on time. It just doesn't directly apply to making games. And then all the way at the bottom is probably like volunteer stuff and things like that. Community sessions and that kind of stuff. All right, I'm gonna stop asking questions and I keep talking because I've answered a couple questions. All righty. So let's see. Are there any others we should focus on? This is a narrative design portfolio. I know a good number of you, Blue came in just to say Amir is the GOAT. Yes, Blue. I know a lot of you are narrative or writing people, so I wanted to show this one off. This is not my favorite in the world because it is split up pretty heavily, and the splits don't make a ton of sense to me. So if I was going to split up my games catalog, I would split it in a way that will matter to the recruiter. Always think about it from their perspective. What is the recruiter looking for, right? So the recruiter could be looking for virtual reality. Maybe they're a recruiter for a VR company. So this category makes sense to me. But the recruiter is not going to be looking for commercial games. All of these games should be commercial. And they're not going to be looking for experimental works for sure. I'm sorry. I know those are fun to work on, but they probably won't care. 1 or 2 of them will. 1 or 2 of them will think it's kind of cool. But probably even labeling this experimental is going to make it sound like it doesn't count, if that makes sense. They want to see professional released titles. What are your games that you actually released? So I wanted to at least give you a narrative portfolio, even if this isn't necessarily the perfect one. I would love to see their face up at the top, Brendan Gibbons' face up here. I'm always a fan of having a headshot. You want the recruiter to feel you a little bit. I like his bio. I like how he is niching himself at least a little bit. He talks about working in virtual reality, and he talks about some of his responsibilities. I think he could do that better. I still only really know that he's a narrative designer. I don't really know where he shines as a narrative designer. I like that he has, if you click into these learn more sections, I like that he has so much information about the different games themselves. This is good, but the recruiter is probably not going to read this. The recruiter probably literally has 30 seconds to look at your portfolio. 30 seconds, maybe as much as like 5 minutes. So probably they're not going to read that. But I do like that he has it. I think it would be better if there were some diagrams and visuals and videos, which he has a little bit of. But as a narrative person, you can definitely include writing samples. but keep them short and snippy, and ideally even somehow make them a little visual. Maybe show off some of your process of deciding who the characters are and thinking about stuff like that. Okay, so I've shown you a couple of good portfolios. I'm going to give you our like tips on building portfolios, and then we're going to do a review together, and then we'll finish up by making a plan, and we will say goodbye. So our recommended path is this: basically make small games, make bigger games, make biggest games until you have 3 to 5 awesome projects to put on your portfolio. You can make we're going to put together a portfolio plan in a bit. Ultimately, the best plans to build that portfolio are to make games and then make a portfolio after you've had those games. The tools to actually make the portfolio are pretty straightforward, like Wix. It's just about getting the tools together. It's just about getting the projects together for the portfolio. Remember that effectively a portfolio is a sales page. You are selling yourself to a game company. You're thinking about how you add value to them. Showcase it, released games above all else. Remember to niche yourself. A portfolio that says, I'm a game designer and programmer and I do sound, somebody's going to look at that and go, this person has no idea what they're doing. I don't mean to be rude. I tend to be a very optimistic person, but ultimately, if we're talking about the nuts and bolts of what a recruiter is thinking, that is what they're thinking. This person, we've all heard the term. Actually, what is the term? Master of none, right? Somebody who practices too many things, just not amazing at any one thing. They want to know you've niched yourself. Jack of all trades, master of none. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Another 20 imaginary points for you. Focus on games in similar genres to where you want to work. Just like a resume, talk about what you contributed to those projects. That's a big one. Don't talk about what the game is. Talk about how you contributed. This is a sales page selling you to them. You're not selling your game. This is not your company website. It shouldn't be. This is your portfolio to get you hired. You're selling you, yourself, to the recruiter. And don't forget to inject at least a little bit of your personality. I actually was in an interview at Riot. I didn't get the job, unfortunately, sad, but I got through 2 interviews and talked for like 20 minutes about Warhammer 40K with one of the recruiters because I happened to mention it in my About Me section. So inject at least a little bit of personality. Make it a single scrollable page. Only show off your top 3 to 5 games and hide the others. Do not make it playable. Every once in a while, I see somebody who thinks they're clever and they make like a video game out of their portfolio. I get that. That is clever even. But recruiters are professionals and they just want to see your portfolio and know if you're the right candidate. They don't want to play a game. Include a headshot and a brief bio. Include contact info and your resume. Actually have your resume downloadable. Include links to play the games. Use GIFs and videos as much as possible. And remove any projects that are not applicable or hide them somewhere else. I usually just put them on a different page. I'll have like a more page. A 3D resume in Sketchfab. Wow. Incredibly creative. Effective? No, that would annoy me so much. We only got so much time. We're all just trying to do our job. All right. So Kevin, what am I saying? The 7 key steps to putting your portfolio together are as such. Number 1, get confident in your tech stack. Basically learn the tools you need for your job. And you know what the tools are because by looking at other job descriptions. Number 2, build 2 to 3 practice projects on your own so you start to feel confident in using those tools. Number 3, release, put them out online. 2 to 3 small scale games with a team. Small scale, less than a week. That way you can get a bunch of them done really quickly too. So do some game jams with a team, release them, finish the games. I always have the best luck if I'm the one running the team, by the way. So I will take that responsibility on myself to make sure the game gets out. After that, release 1 to 2 mid-scale games. Mid-scale for me is like 2 weeks, maybe as long as 4 weeks. After that, release 1 or 2 large-scale games. Large scale to me is 2 to 6 months. And then build yourself, now that you've got a bunch of really awesome games, build yourself an attractive portfolio website with your top 3 to 5 games, your best 3 to 5. And then get feedback from at least 3 professionals on your portfolio. I've already talked about game jams. For anybody who's uncertain about how to make games or where to make games, if you don't know the tools yet, if you are literally unfamiliar, Unity Learn is an excellent resource. Unity Rollerball is one of my favorites. I know that there are other engines besides Unity, and Unity made big buku mistakes recently, and we don't like them because they tried to steal our money, but luckily they did backtrack a bit. So Unity Rollerball is a great tutorial. And game jams in general are a great place to find teams to build games with. So itch.io, I'll just keep sharing the links for anybody who wasn't here earlier, I guess. Itch.io/jams is an awesome website. There you go. This is our jam coming up here about where you will not build a game. Instead, you will build a portfolio. So you can join this if you want. We actually, during this jam, we're bringing in Justin Williams again, who's a senior recruiter at Blizzard. He's going to give us thoughts on portfolio building during the jam itself. So if you want to hear from Justin Williams, come on by. Totally free. We're just like doing it because Justin's awesome. And then there's Ludum Dare, of course. Where is it? Here you go. All great places to get started making games. Okay. So I think, yeah, let's go ahead and make you a plan, and then we'll spend the last 10 or 15 minutes of the night reviewing your portfolio. So you can post your portfolios in just a second. Yeah, that is actually a great point. Sfjord said, oh, hi, Sfjord. It's been a little while, actually. Says, be ready for half your team to end up bailing in game jams. Yes, it happens. Indie teams are notorious for falling apart. This is why, number one, I recommend you run the team yourself. Put it together yourself. Don't rely on somebody else to do it, because they will fall apart. You know you can figure out how to make it happen. Number two, when they do fall apart, it's okay. It's annoying, yes. Sometimes wasted time, yes. But now you know of a couple of people that you probably work well with, and you know of a couple of people that you never need to work with again. So do a couple of jams until you find those 5 or 6 or 10 people that you work well with. Keep them around, tell them they're beautiful, buy them chocolates, and then continue to build games with them. Hell, that might even be your indie studio one day. Okay, so let's build a portfolio plan. You started a text document or a piece of paper somewhere where you added your profession as well as your specialization as well as your niche. Now we're going to add a bunch of due dates. This is your portfolio building plan, your portfolio plan. So the first thing I want you to add to your plan, this is something I want you to do tonight. Do tonight or tomorrow if tonight is too busy for you. I want you to find 3 job positions, 3 open positions that are really attractive to you. At a company you really want to work for. It's 2 a.m., says Ed. I don't care. It's fine. You can do it. Do it tomorrow then. Do it tomorrow then, Ed. Fine. It's fine. So I want you to find 3 job positions, put this in your portfolio plan, add this as a assignment in the portfolio plan. Step 1, find 3 job positions. Find 3 that you care about, that look good, and then I want you to read each of them and pull out of them any skills that you feel weak in. So if they mention Unreal Blueprints, so maybe we're looking at like LinkedIn, by the way, is another fantastic place to find jobs, actually. Their job section is really strong these days. So here's some game designer roles. Here's a senior level designer at Monomi Park. Ooh, that's actually, I might apply for that. I don't know. Oh, it's in freaking San Mateo. Never mind. Anyway, so find a job position like this one, an actual open position, and then I want you to read the entire description. I know none of you actually read the whole thing. I want you to read the whole thing, and I want you to write down any skills that they mention that you feel weak in. So in the qualification section, they're mentioning level design development pipeline. If you don't know what that means, go research it, go learn it. Write down that that's one of the things you need to learn, and then go and learn it. So 3 job positions, write down any technical skills from those job positions that you don't know yet, and then find yourself some tutorials to learn those skills. Give yourself a due date for this as the first assignment. What is your due date for learning those technical skills? All right, step 2, skill practice. So now you have, I kind of split these up. So these are 2 different dates. The first due date is finding those 3 job descriptions that you could do like right now. The second due date is the skill practice. So for each of those skills that you write down that you don't yet feel confident in, I want you to find a promising looking tutorial and then follow it. So if you don't know what a production pipeline is, if you don't know what a level design pipeline is, go find an awesome YouTube video or something like that on level design pipeline, learn and take notes, and then you'll be so much better prepared. And if you keep doing that, that's how you will upskill yourself and have all of the skills you need to apply for jobs in the future. All right, so that's step one. Is you should already have 2 due dates in your portfolio plan. First due date is finding 3 jobs to learn from. Second due date is finding tutorials for those 3 jobs. When are you going to finish those tutorials? Third due date, I want you to do a solo project. I want you to find a game jam, or you can work on your own for a game that you are excited about and can confidently do on your own, and preferably that some of those skills you just learned can apply to. So maybe make a game that uses a level design pipeline so that you can actually practice it. Make sure this is a game that takes less than 1 week. Stick to your due dates, people. That's a big one. That's why game jams are awesome also. Pick a due date for this game, make it an actual due date. Do not push back that date, and then build your game. So solo project. So we're starting with finding some jobs. Next, we're building our skills. Next, we're doing a solo project or 2. Now you already have 1 or 2 games that you could put on your portfolio, but let's continue on to step 4. I want you to do a small scale team project. So first job descriptions, then skill building, then a solo project, and now a small scale team project. So still make this something that takes less than a week, but find some people, maybe in this community, you've got 78 people in this call right now to build a game with. Make sure that game is nice and short. Make sure it allows you to practice some of the skills you want to practice. Looks like Tiny Justice is raising their hand. Anybody want to work with Tiny Justice? DM each other right now. And then build this game, and once again, finish it and release it. Upload it to itch.io, if nothing else. Upload it to itch. And maybe do this for 1 or 2 or 3 projects until you're feeling comfortable. Small scale. All right. And step number 5, I want you to do a mid-scale project. Now that you're feeling comfortable, I want you to once again work with a team. I want you to once again release it. And I want you to once again finish it and stick to your deadlines. If this is a 4-week-long project, I want you to finish it in 4 weeks, period. Doesn't matter if it's missing features. Better to finish, get it done, get it out there, than to get stuck working on the same game for 6 years. So common for that to happen. So use game jam websites, find something that you're excited about that's about 2 to 4 weeks long, build it out. This time, I want you to submit it to iOS, Android, or Steam, an actual store, and I want you to charge money for it. This might be when you start considering a larger project. So perhaps now you're feeling good and you can do a 4-month or a 6-month game. But I'm not including that here tonight because I told you that I would get you everything you need within 2 months. And a 4-month game would be hard to finish in 2 months. So your step 6 now is to build your portfolio. If you follow those 5 steps, so you should now have 5 due dates on your portfolio plan. Your first due date is when you're going to find those 3 job descriptions. Your second due date is when you're going to do some skill building for the tools that you aren't familiar with yet. Your third due date is when you're going to finish a solo project that is less than a week long. Your fourth due date is when you're going to finish a team project that is less than a week long. Your fifth due date is when you're going to finish a mid-scale project that is 2 to 4 weeks long. So at that point, you should now have at least 3 games to put in your portfolio, which is the minimum I would recommend you put on there. You're going to build your portfolio out. I'm clicking on the wrong thing. You're going to build your portfolio out, and you're going to make it as beautiful as you can. Focus on a lot of the stuff that we talked about tonight. So talk about how you contributed to this game, talk about what you learned and your thought process in this game. Think about it once again as a sales page for you. How do you make you an attractive candidate to these people? All right. And add that due date for when that portfolio will be built. There are a lot of tools you can use. I personally recommend Wix because it's nice and easy. Then there's one more due date. Not at all because I like the number 7. That's not the only reason I'm doing this. Thank you, Hermetic. I'm glad you've been here. If nothing else, Hermetic, come join our Discord. We'd love to have you. All right. Yes, so the last step, I like having 7 things. So your 7th step is to now get your portfolio reviewed. This is something that I feel a good number of people will skip. They'll finish their portfolio, they'll breathe a sigh of relief, and then they'll never touch it again. Your portfolio is constantly evolving as you evolve throughout your career. So now that you have finished your portfolio, your final step, your step 7, is to get at least 3 professionals, people who work in games in one capacity or another, to review your portfolio and give you feedback, then adjust it And now you're ready to go hard applying for 10 to 20 jobs a week. Step 8 is profit. Okay, write in the chat for me. I want a little accountability here. Write in the chat for me when you will finish step 7. What is your due date for a fully finished, reviewed portfolio with 3 games that you built over the past couple of months, over the next couple of months? What is your due date for a fully finished and reviewed and polished portfolio? Christmas. Nice. That's ambitious, I would say, actually. If you can do that, Ed, I'm very proud of you. At the end of level 3, says Blue. That's probably good. That's good. Tiny Justice says December 23rd. Also Christmas. That's good as long as you can get those projects done. You really need at least 3 fully finished games. End of year sounds a little bit more realistic to me if you're just getting started. If you don't have anything yet, if you don't know the tech stack yet, probably you're looking at more like February, January, February, March. But if you do already have some games, so you can skip some of these steps, end of the year sounds like a perfect time to get it done by. Awesome. Mid-January, nice. Christmas 2024. Make it more specific than that for me, Ricardo. 2024 is a very broad window. January 15th, says Matthew. Awesome. Good. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of people writing it out. If you haven't already, you should have 7 steps in your portfolio plan. Step 1, find job listings, give that a due date. Step 2, practice the skills mentioned in those job descriptions, give that a due date. Step 3, solo project less than a week long, give that a due date. Step 4, team-based project less than a week long, released to itch.io, give that a due date. Step 5, mid-scale project, 2 to 4 weeks long, with a team, released to iOS, Android, or Steam, give that a due date. Step 6, portfolio actually built, give that a due date. And step 7, have at least 3 people review your portfolio, give that a due date. So that is your portfolio plan. Okay, so it is now 9:24. I think what I will do is let's do 10 minutes of portfolio review. I don't want to stay too late because I'm tired. But go ahead and post your portfolio in the chat. And those first couple of portfolios that I see, I'm going to do some rapid fire feedback on them. Okay. And as we go through them, you can leave your own feedback for these people. So post your portfolio in the chat and then also post feedback for the people as we go through them. I'm going to move pretty quick because I want to try to give a lot of people feedback. So this is not an in-depth review. And remember that I'm only one perspective. Get other people's perspectives besides mine. I am fallible, even though I don't like to think so. All right. So first portfolio. This is Udayan Senapati. Please forgive me if I ever mispronounce somebody's name. You can feel free to correct me. Udayan is a game developer with a passion for creating immersive games with an expertise in various game engines and programming languages. I create enjoyable user experiences that captivate and engage players. Okay, I like this-ish. My problems with it are, number 1, I don't know if you're a designer, an engineer, or what. A developer is an extremely broad term. In fact, I believe that anybody who works on games is a developer. If you make sound effects for video games, you are a game developer. You develop games. So game developer is not a clear enough distinction for me. I believe you should either write yourself here as an engineer or as a designer, one of those 2 things, or a technical designer maybe if you really are halfway in between. You also say expertise in various game engines and programming languages. Just list the actual ones. Various means what? I don't know, question mark. So just list the actual ones. I have 5 years of experience in Unity, 3 years in Unreal. Extremely competent in C#, whatever. I like that you have your resume. I like that you have contact info. I love your big headshot. It's also a great headshot. You look like a great guy. Latest projects and featured projects. This kind of 2-column layout, I don't love. And I don't love it from a game designer's perspective again. Basically meaning I can't control what the recruiter is looking at. And I, as recruiter, feel a little bit lost. What do I look at? I don't know. Do I look at this green cat or this bloody stain on the ground or this cool ship? This cool ship looks like the one that actually is the most impressive. And so that's probably the one to have it to look at. I know I'm being a bit boring. We're game developers. We love to do things in an unusual, special way. But I really think y'all should just straight up copy this layout. One game at a time, info about the game. You start with the best game and you move down. That's it. Okay. Other feedback? I like that you have a little bit of personal information. It doesn't hurt to have your education, especially if it is somewhere impressive. North Carolina is pretty good, so that's good. About me, I like that you have that. These guys down here, those should be all the way at the top or somewhere that looks more important, because people care about this, and in fact, robots care about this. Get in touch is good. All right, this is pretty decent. I give you a B plus, sir. All right, let us move on to the second one. If I can find the second one. There we go. All right, Shane makes games. Shane Tupler, technical game designer. Love that. Look, very clear what Shane does. Shane has 3 games at the top of the screen. That looks great. And Shane has a design demo reel. The website definitely feels fairly empty, which you could... nice. See, Shane, this is awesome. This is really awesome. I love to see how much thought you have about these games. You're talking about some of your thought process, it looks like. You're giving me an in-depth view into how you thought about building this game. What I think you should do is, instead of these 3 little buttons, I know some people do this, by the way. So for instance, Nathan Kelman here worked on Diablo 4. He currently works on Lost Boys Interactive. He's worked on Call of Duty. He's a very impressive dude with a legit career. And he comes to the Indie Game Academy to talk about portfolio building sometimes. But I really disagree with the sort of like static card thing like this, for the exact same reason I've said before. You should essentially assume recruiters are lazy. They only have like at most a minute or 2 for your portfolio. So forcing them to pick which one of these to click on, and then once they click on it, forcing it to load a little bit, and then forcing them to scroll down, it's just like not a good user experience. So once again, I know I'm being boring and repetitive, but just like rip this off, just lay it out. So I would, for yours, Shane, I think this is too much information to include on the homepage, but you could take a portion of it. So, you know, grab this video and maybe this first paragraph and have that be right here, and then have your second game, and then have your third game, and then have your demo reel. You could also, maybe your demo reel's on the top, debatable. And then your website feels a little bit more full. It feels like you have more experience, even though it's the exact same content. And then you have a button at the bottom that says read more, and that brings you to this page. All right, that's my feedback for Shane. I also think you could niche yourself a tiny bit more. So you could have technical game designer and then have a little bio down here, maybe a headshot. And in the bio, you could mention like, I love working on strategy games or whatever. Okay, sweet. Next one. We got Hammy Hams. Love it. Hammy Hams, or Lauren Hammond. Hello, Lauren. Lauren, this is a very, very brief website. I want to see more. I don't love this, actually. This is one of those things. So I'm a game designer and I was an engineer. I kind of still am an engineer. And I manage teams, which means of all the verticals, the ones that I have the most applicable things to say about are game design, engineering, and production. That means that when I'm reviewing an artist's portfolio, you should listen to me a little bit less, and you should go get other people's perspectives besides mine. That is something I feel is important to say whenever I give advice. Don't just listen to me. I shouldn't be your sole source of truth. That said, I know that interactive media is kind of its own like subcategory that artists talk about. But same sort of deal. I as a recruiter, like what you're giving me here is almost like choice paralysis. I come to your portfolio and I'm like, I guess I'll click this one because it looks a little nicer. So you almost like, you're like putting off the recruiter or forcing them to make a decision. Potentially that means that they're not seeing good stuff from the other category. Like, what if the recruiter clicked into this one and they're like, no, like this coffee one looks like she made it a long time ago, or they made it a long time ago. I don't know. They might not have the experience. Even though they might have clicked into this one to see something a little bit more modern and a little bit more impressive. Like, you can't control what they're going to see with a layout like this. So once again, I'm a fan of just laying it out instead of having the categories, or maybe have the categories up here so I can click into them if I want, but you build for me a sales page about you at the top. That's one page scrollable. I also think you could use a headshot and a bio. This is a decent place to start. I think you need some published titles as well. You need some actual games that you've released here. Some of this looks really good. Like this, why is this hidden so far down? This looks awesome. That looks really cool. That's really inviting and really exciting. Why did I have to scroll so far to go and find it? All right, next one. Joseph May, Joey's portfolio. Ooh, I'm a sucker for 2.5D, and I'm a sucker for pixel art. So that picture right there immediately got me enticed. Awesome. Okay, so some of the same stuff. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but that's because I know these things to be true. So portfolio, Joey's portfolio. I want your full name. I guess it's up here, but I don't know. It's a little bit weird. I think you should just put your full name here. Gameplay programmer, not bad. That's decent. You could also include a little personal paragraph and probably a headshot here. I like headshots. Just actually, like, some people disagree with me about headshots, and I think they're just wrong. This is one thing that I think you should listen to me and not other people about. Look at how inviting this looks. I'm like, oh, Udion seems like such a cool person. But then I come here and I have no idea who Joey is. I am a huge fan, big advocate of including a headshot. Don't have it take up too much space or anything, but I want to see your face. I want to connect with you. So headshot and a little bio. In that bio, you could niche yourself a little bit, maybe talk about the kinds of games you like to work on. This game looks very strong. I will be honest, this one looks a bit unprofessional. And I don't mean to be rude. We've all been working on games for a long time, but if I showed off my very first game, let's see if we get pictures of it. Vector Rangers Flash game, maybe? You can still play it. That's amazing. Yeah, there we go. That's my first game. It looks like trash. No offense to myself. I would no longer ever show that off on a portfolio. So the quality difference between these two games is pretty significant. That looks great. This looks like probably it was just a personal project he kind of did for fun. So I would showcase this first, have this at the top. Probably I would have Craft Mine as the second one, and then I would have this as at the third one. I would have a little bit more info about it so that people get stuck looking at this one and they're excited by it. Like, look at that. That looks awesome, dude. Like, that's sweet. I would have some of this actually on the home page, and really try to... I keep saying this, but I think it's real. Like, think about it like you're the designer and you're designing an experience for the recruiter. You want them to get stuck enjoying the best stuff, and you kind of don't want them to even see the other stuff. Okay, I think we've got time for a couple more. I'll probably stop at like 9:40. All right, Renee. So Renee is a 3D environment artist. First of all, Renee, this is some good looking stuff. I can tell that you know what you're doing, which is great. That's really the most important thing for a recruiter to get out of it. This mech especially, I mean, that's partially my preference because I like big robots, but that's awesome. It's sort of a unique design. The train shows some clear compositional abilities. I'm seeing some strong texturing. Similar to what happened with Joey's portfolio, I kind of feel like you're focusing on a weaker one. Like, this one looks okay. Oh, there's more to it. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe change this screenshot then. This one looks okay, but then when I scroll down, I see really awesome stuff. So once again, you want to start with the awesome stuff, even if it's an older project. If it's from like 10 years ago, maybe don't include it or don't put it all the way at the top. But if it's from at least within the last couple of years, just start with the good stuff, whatever is the most impressive work you've done. I think this is ArtStation. So like I've said, I'm not a big fan of ArtStation portfolios. I think for artists, it's probably fine, but I would love to get a headshot. I would love to get a bio about you. I would love information about the game itself, which you are including. But I feel like this could be included on the homepage, and with ArtStation, I believe that's impossible. Overall, I think this is actually a pretty decent portfolio for a 3D environmental artist because I can clearly see that you know what you're doing. All right. David Cipriano, character artist. Awesome. I feel like you could go a little bit more in depth for the niche, tell me more information, and you definitely need more work on here, David. 3 to 5 games. This is 2 posts, so I need to know a little bit more about this. That said, that looks pretty dope. Nice. I'm loving this crazy effect. Uh, that's cool. I'm kind of distracted. I've never quite seen something like that. I like that a lot. Well done. That's also, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, that's a fairly simple effect, right? Maybe not, though. You actually modeled it. Crazy. Awesome. So I am getting some perspective on David's abilities, which is great. But same sort of thing. Like this is maybe part of why I don't like ArtStation. If I just clicked, designers think so much about the player experience, and so if I, the recruiter, am the player, if I click onto this page, think about how I'm going to feel as soon as I get to this page. How I'm going to feel is that this is a pretty empty page. There's not much going on here. So even though I found a bunch of information in here once I clicked into it, your initial impression, David, is that you haven't worked on much yet. So you could break some of this out, maybe. There's a lot of work going on in these. So you could immediately take some of these and break it up into 5 or 6 posts. And that way it at least looks like there's a little bit more going on. But regardless, I love once I click in. Once I click in, I know you know what you're doing. I think the ideal solution is just that you do more, because I'm not entirely confident you can do what you're doing if I have only seen 2 pieces of your work. 3 to 5 is really that ideal sort of sweet spot. All right. Oh, this is awesome. Like this could be its own post. That's freaking awesome. Nice. So cool. Okay. I love games. I love video games. All right. We got Tiny Justice. I'll do 1 or 2 more here. Tiny Justice, also on ArtStation. Kiri Reeve. Hello, Kiri. This is looking good. So I think, is that friggin' dang. Like that's amazing. Who doubts whether or not Renee can make some, or excuse me, not Renee, I'm sorry. Kiri can make some beautiful mud effects. That's awesome. That looks almost photorealistic. So similar to what I said about the last one, it's very obvious to me that you know what you're doing, Kiri. Oh shit, did you work on Gollum? Oh my god. Where are you, Kiri? Wait, who worked on Gollum? Kiri, can you leave a chat and say it's me? That's you, Tiny Justice? Tiny Justice, will you come on our podcast? I'm not even kidding. I want to talk to you about Gollum. Are you allowed? Are you still under NDA? So awesome. Okay. I'm going to message you. All right, I DM'd you so we can chat about it later. I would love to hear about that process. I know you may well be under NDA still, but that's so cool. I just imagine that must have been such a crazy production process, and it must have been like almost heartbreaking to see the response to it. So same thing though, really obvious you know what you're doing, Kiri, and that's really the bottom line. Like, yes, I think you could use, I love the headshot actually. You could have, let's see, 3D environment artist, open to work, 2 years industry experience in 1 shipped game. I might not mention this. I don't know. That's hard to say because you've clearly worked on more than a single shipped title, but by saying 1 shipped title, you sort of diminish yourself almost. That's debatable. I also think you could niche a little bit more in here. So you are a 3D environmental artist, yes, but what do you do best? 3D environmental artist, focusing on making atmospheric rooms or something like that. That seems like something that you're really good at. This is beautiful. A lot of your work here is really good. Kiri here, for all of you who are artists, this is what you should be doing with your time. So a lot of this, I assume, is either school projects or personal projects that Kiri has taken on to make sure that they can put things together. And actually, look, yeah, this is all from Gollum. I didn't even notice that. So even though Kiri only has 1 game title shipped so far, that first of all, a professional title is going to matter so much more than anything else. So that's still a big deal. But Kiri has laid this out in a way where it feels like they have done a lot, right? But this is what you should be doing, working on those personal projects, practicing your craft, getting good at it, getting excited about it. You know, it's fun to make games. We shouldn't be hesitant to build games. Okay. How far up was Kiri's? Can I slam through all of them? Probably not. Yeah, wow, there's still a lot left. Okay, I am going to have Siri pick a random number. We're going to do 2 more, and the gods of luck are going to decide which 2 those are. Here we go. I'm going to have her give me a random number, and then I'm going to count down from Kiri's to that one. Give me a random number between 1 and 10. 1. Well, that's convenient. So that means we've got... Oh, interesting. You actually have 2, Kiri. I will open this just to open it. Oh, Discord is really not cooperating. Wait, so this is also yours, Kiri? What do you not do? Leave some talent for the rest of us. This looks pretty good as well. Very different style, which is interesting. This is a bit of what I was talking about, of having multiple portfolios for different jobs. So if Kiri is applying for a 3D environmental artist gig, they can send this. But if then they are working on an illustration or a pixel art gig, they can send this. And that's really useful. It's annoying because you have to build 2, but it's nice to have. Okay, so the actual one I'm going to review next, thanks to Series Random Luck, is Kelly. Hello, Kelly. Kelly is a 2D game artist, illustrator, and environment artist. I know you do all these things, Kelly, but probably you just want to talk about one of them. You might mention them later in a paragraph or something. But once again, it makes me go, well, if they're an illustrator, they're probably not the best environmental artists, and vice versa. I'm trying not to be like rude or anything here, but I do want to be very honest about the recruiter mindset, right? A lot of your art here is really strong. I love this one in particular. And this is only sketch work too. This makes me think of unpacking or something similar. Looks great. I think it's obvious that you are strongest in 2D. So of the things I might remove from your bio there, I might remove environmental artist. Because typically environmental artist means 3D, even though that's not always true. Kind of cool that you worked on a released board game. Nice simple kind of shoots and ladder kind of thing. Yeah, I think, what would I say about this one? I think this is a strong start. I think, I like that you have so much in here. It's clearly done a good amount of work. I actually think this is pretty decent. I think you could keep working and get some actually released games in here. That's definitely going to help. But for the most part, I mean, you've got these 2 that you did work on, which is awesome. Are these just trading cards? Or I mean, standard cards? Oh yeah, they are. Nice. Still awesome. Oh, this is great. I love that. Well done, Kelly. This, by the way, is the kind of thing that you can do yourself for not that much money. You can get a custom deck of cards printed for $80 max with your own art on them. So that might be something you do. Nice. I love the buttons, the buttons, and the bag and everything like that. This looks great, Kelly. Okay. I'm going to give one last one. Siri, give me a number between 1 and 10. We got a 9. All right. So from Kelly's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got Jack is the final portfolio of the night. Jack Roberts, a 3D character artist. This is what I'm talking about with making it nice and clear what you do. I come to Jack's page, and if I'm looking for a dope, muscular superhero, I'm like, all right, Jack can do it. I know they can. So, Jack, I think this is a great start. I would love to see more. It does feel a little bit empty with just these 6 characters. That said, these are some strong-looking characters. I love I'm forgetting his name. Somebody remind me his name from Spider-Verse. This looks really great. You're showing some of your process, some of the breakdown, some of the different angles. You got a video? Oh, yeah. The video doesn't seem to show anything. Oh, shoot. Nice. I see it's obvious that I'm not an artist because I didn't know what this was at first. That's really cool. I didn't even know that was possible to embed your model like that. I love that you're showing off the UVs and the different layers and textures. This looks great, dude. I would, yeah, if you can, obviously it takes time. I would try to add more characters. You can maybe break some of these up into multiple posts if you need to or want to. I do think you have a very particular style. This one, Cosmic Diva, and this one, Foot Clan Soldier, are fairly distinct, but these 4 all feel pretty much the same. You want to niche, yes, but you don't want to niche so much that you can't do the job. So if they need a character artist, and that character artist is going to make a big muscular superhero, yes, but they're also going to make, a damsel in distress and a big boss and stuff like that. I might be a little bit more nervous that you're not going to be able to make me a big bad boss if most of all you do is muscular guys. So maybe get one or two other things in here just so that I know that you have a range of abilities. It's ArtStation, I know, but I would love to see your face, and I would love to see a bio about you, a little bit more info about you. Okay, that's all the portfolio reviews I'm gonna do. So let's close down for the evening. We've got a couple of things to talk about here. So number one, I told you that one of our core agreements is to celebrate. So everybody, please pump it up. Maybe some emojis. We did it. We got through like an hour and a half of talking about portfolios and we're still alive. Yes, success, amazing, well done. All right. As a gift for getting here to the end of the day, all of you are invited to join the Discord at the Indie Game Academy. It's a great place to find collaborators and coworkers, people to build games with. So there's your link if you want to come join. The other thing, there's probably not much availability in the calendar anymore. It got super filled up, but I did open up my calendar for one-on-one advisement calls this week, so you can check if there's any spots left. I actually don't know if there are. We had so many people show up to the last one. Let's cool down a little bit, though. I love to sort of reflect with people. This is part of also how we get the lessons to sink in further. What was one of your favorite lessons from today? Anybody, type in the chat for me. What was one of your favorite lessons from today? Several people are typing. That's what I like to see. The niche specialization. Nice. Yeah. Charge for your games. Yes. Yeah. I don't know why it's so scary as an indie to charge money, but little known fact, if you want to financially support yourself, you have to charge money. And it does look more professional. It looks like an actual game at that point, right? If you don't charge money, it feels a little bit more unprofessional. Most recruiters won't spend more than a minute. Yeah, it's a little painful, but also you have to think of it from their end. They're actually getting 200 or 300 applications, so of course they can't spend longer than a minute or two. Do game jams? Huge! Actually finish games! Number one takeaway, finish your games! I don't know how many games in my life I haven't finished, and they all make me sad, and I don't want that for you. I want you all to finish your games, and I want you to put them up online. LinkedIn networking tips. Yeah, that's a really good one. A lot of people really like that, which is why I spent a second to show it. Make your own website. Yeah, I mean, ArtStation is good. Like, I would probably look at this and still hire Jack, but I just like this. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like, imagine if this is what Jack had and it was his awesome muscular characters actually in a video game. Like, that would be so cool. Taxes. Yeah, taxes. I mean, but taxes, you know what? No, I'm going to disagree with you, Tiny Justice. Do you know how many things I write off as tax exemptions because I work in games and make money in it? My Playdate, $200 game console, tax-free, baby. It's research and development. What else I got? I love Warhammer so much, and I spend way too much money on it. Tax-free, baby. Research and development. Anyway, I am not an accountant. Do not listen to me for tax advice. This is not tax advice. But yes, it is less of a big deal than you might imagine, and there are even some perks like writing off your Warhammer models. Just get started. Don't be too scared of it. IRS will tell you if you owe them money. So just start charging money. Okay. Anyway, I got too focused on Warhammer. Next question. What is something you're going to do differently moving forward? What is something you're going to do differently moving forward? Finish a game, says Blue. Yes. I'm so glad you say that, Blue. Charge for my games. Well done, Tiny Justice. I can't wait to see it. Love the reviews. Takeaways are headshot, bio, specialization, best projects first. Gonna work on the tasks after this. Awesome. Glad to hear that, Ricardo. Finish your projects and niche. Good. Not lie. Yeah, I mean, it's so tough for me to suggest that. Once again, don't lie. If you weren't a designer, don't claim to be a designer. But here's another good example. At Lumosity, which is the first company I worked. So Lumosity is the brain training game company. This is where I got my start in the game industry. When I worked here, my technical job title was engineer. I was coding, but Lumosity is games adjacent. They're not quite a games company. And so they actually didn't hire game designers. There were 0 game designers at Lumosity ever. Instead, the engineers were acting as game designers. So on my resume, did I write engineer? No. I wrote hybrid engineer designer because when I was applying for game design roles, to be clear. So that's like a lie, but it's also the truth because that is genuinely what I did. I actually designed the games, I paper prototyped them, I wrote design documentation. It just so happens that my job title was engineer, which would have stopped me from getting the job, right? So don't lie, just like, focus on the stuff that you know they want to hear. All right. Yeah, respect the dates. That's a good one, actually. Ricardo gets 100,000 imaginary points. Respect the due dates is a really, really good one. Not only is that a really, really important skill that's just good for you to practice, but that's also going to force you to release games, which is better than just ruminating on the same game forever. And it'll make you so much more effective as a game developer, and you will learn so many lessons that you didn't realize are important to learn until you get into the industry. So much of game development, especially as a designer, actually, is you going, here's my perfect, beautiful design, and somebody else going, we have 2 weeks and there's no way we can do that. Figure it out. Figure something else out. We can't do that. Like, that is a humongous part of game development that people who don't respect their due dates don't learn. And then they join the game industry and they're like, I can't move at this pace. When in reality, a lot of the job is just cutting shit, just being like, all right, well, I had these 3 things we were going to add and we can't add all of them. So let's just do this one. We're going to do it right. Due dates, respect your due dates. Okay. Anybody have any last questions about portfolios and other shit? Exaggerate, don't lie. That's probably good, Lane. That's good. And if you tell somebody that I told you to lie, I'll deny it. So, and there's definitely not a recording of this. Could you show the Discord link again? What? Discord link with IGA? Is that what you mean? Sure. If that's what you mean. I've opened too many links, so I can't find anything. There. Will this be posted plus the presentation? Yes. So it's going to take a little while to process, and I'm tired, so I'm not going to do it tonight. But tomorrow at some point during the day, I will post for you in the events chat. So watch the events chat channel. I'll put all the links that we talk about tonight. I'll put a recording, all that good stuff. Heck yeah, thank you for the information. Yes, Blue is in our Discord, which is why he is encouraging all of you to come join. It's truly a wonderful, magical place. We really like it in there. Is it better to have your portfolio be nice to look at or be interested, or instead be ultra functional, or a mix of both? That's a good question. I would say lean more towards functionality, meaning lean more towards showing off, make it a sales page, lean more towards showing why you're awesome and less about trying to make it beautiful. Yes, being beautiful will matter. A recruiter is that'll be kind of that design thing again. Like, the recruiter will kind of feel that and sense that, and that will probably affect their decision, but it's not going to make the decision. If it's between 2 people and one portfolio is beautiful, that's not going to be the thing that actually gets them the job, probably. Is sending a resume through Pidgeon carriers a good idea? Do you mean Pigeon, or is Pidgeon something I don't know? You can correct me on that, Ed. I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you so much for the friendly portfolio chat. Absolutely. Yes, Bird, says Ed. That sounds like a great idea. You'll really get their attention. All right. So now that we are at the end, we have our level 3 program starting next week. That is our 4-month-long program where you work with a team to publish an original concept together. You basically form a little indie studio, and you do that under the guidance of 7 industry professionals. So this is our bread and butter. This is our pride and joy. This is our most beloved program. I'm going to talk about this and what it includes for about 10 minutes. So if you are looking for a boot camp or an educational institute where you get to release your own game, maybe hang around, but otherwise don't feel like you have to hang around. I hope to see you around the Discord and hopefully in some of our future events. If you want to hear about IGA 3, hang out. I'm going to talk about it for a bit. Otherwise, thank you for hanging out. Where can I find the recording and the slides? Why have I answered this question so many times? Hello, Kello. It will be in the event chat tomorrow. Calm your shiz. Oh, that's why, because Hello Kello had an audio issue. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm being fake angry. Yeah, I'm going to post the recording and all of these links in the event chat probably tomorrow. Okay, if you want to hear about IGA level 3, wait, I'm going to answer questions first to make sure. Skipped Alex Webb's question. What was Alex Webb's question? Was it dumb? Are you going to make a dumb joke? No offense, Alec. I don't see Alec Webb's question. Will you ask it again? I'm not easily seeing it. Okay. I don't actually see it at all. I don't know where it went. Other questions though. Oh, there's Alex. What specific industry should we select on our LinkedIn profiles? The closest I see is computer games. That's an interesting question. I haven't actually asked that before. Probably computer games. That sounds right to me. Yes. When will a level 0 program open up? Come to the Discord. There's actually one happening, I think it's Friday night. Level 0 is just a 2-hour intro to development. So you learn how to use Unity and make a game. Any others? What specific industry? Yeah, I think probably computer games. Missed Lane as well. I'm sorry, I'm skipping all these questions. Should you have your portfolio a mix between realistic and stylized, or focus on one thing? That's also an interesting question. I guess what I would probably do is I would pick which of those two is your special sauce. Which one are you best at? Which one are you going to be most well known for? I would include that in your bio. So I'm a 3D environmental artist that specializes in stylized visuals. And then I would make your top game a stylized one, maybe your top 1 or 2 games a stylized one. And then your more realistic content you could include after that. So just make sure they see the one you want them to see first. But I think you could include both. All right. So I'm going to talk. Oh, wait, there's a little bit more. I think there's one last question. Can game projects be used as experience? That is a really great question. I get that one a lot. I would say mostly yes. So if it is an actual job, especially a professional studio, that's what should actually go in your experience. If you don't have enough experience to fill it out, then I would include projects there. That said, when a recruiter sees that, it definitely makes them a little bit wary. So what you might do is have an experience section and then have a projects section. That's I think the one I see most common. All right, so I'm going to talk about IGA Level 3 Publish. This is our most beloved program. Oh, I've worked on DLC for a live service game. Does that count as a shipped title? Yes, sort of, but yes, totally counts and include it. I don't know if I was counting how many titles I released. I don't know if I would include that as one, but it's definitely a real life project that you worked on. It definitely counts. Okay. So IGA Level 3 is our most beloved program. It's our 4-month-long boot camp. You get sorted into a multidisciplinary indie team. Effectively, you start your own little indie studio in all but name. You won't actually create a business entity or anything like that, but you will work with this team to come up with an original game concept. Then you will build it with this team over the course of 4 months. You will release it to a store of your choice, iOS, Steam, Android. You will monetize the game. You'll actually charge money. And you will pitch that game to a live audience of publishers and press and other people. This is an experimental program from years ago that people loved, and we kept running and made it more and more awesome as we went. So there's an old quote by Jesse Schell. If you don't know Jesse Schell, he's the dude who wrote The Art of Game Design, which is sort of the de facto game design textbook. And his quote goes like this: your first 10 games are going to suck, so you might as well get them out of the way as fast as you can. That's a great quote. It is a core part of our ideology here. You heard a lot of that lesson in what I was talking about tonight. Get those games done and get them out there. A single published game is worth more than 1,000 unfinished projects. Just go step by step, start small, work on those small projects first, release them, and then get a little bit bigger. All right, a question for the audience. What is a game you have always wanted to make? What's one of those dream projects of yours? Ed has one. Blue has one. NG has one. Several people are typing. And FGO. Oh, I don't know that one. What's FGO mean? I feel like I should. Divorced Magician Simulator. NG. My God, the next indie hit. Enhanced reality horror game in VR. A fighting game, says Ed. Too many, says Potato. I feel that. I feel that. Metroidvania, space game, BS, the only card game. BS, the online card game? BS. What's BS? Somebody tell me what BS is. 3D exploration game that rewards no clipping. Tiny home exploration. Oh, I love a good, like, wholesome, cute game. I just love that. That's my jam, man. Knife in the Mud, a 2D turn-based tactics game where both sides fight for conditional. Amazing! I love all these game concepts. You're probably not going to build them in IGA 3. The reality is a 4-month time frame is pretty small. So really, you won't build them yet, but you will build them eventually. So you're going to be publishing and monetizing your first 4-month game with a team. And probably your dream game, that big game you want to build one day, is probably just frankly too big to build in 4 months, even with a team. So what we're going to help you do is reduce those ideas that you're really excited about into something that's a little bit more realistically scoped. So for instance, if you really want to build Civilization, maybe instead of Civilization, we'll have you build Polytopia, a much simpler version of Civilization with much of the same energy and vibes. So a couple of the games that came out of our program, this is Hyper Bimbo Beats. This actually won the pitch contest during the last cohort. It is also an insane game built by an insane group of people, but they're super fun. I love them. This was Team Swashbucklers in the last cohort. Hyper Bimbo Beats is a rhythm game where you act as a trans superstar who uses their amazing dance powers to turn misogynistic assholes into simps. You turn toxic men into simps. That's the whole game. This placed on the top 10 rhythm games in the App Store. They were in there for about a week in the top 10 rhythm games. And they ultimately did decently well for themselves. You should, by the way, not expect to make money out of this program. For many people, this is one of your first games, but you will get a finished monetized game for sure. Second game that came out of this program, another one that I really like. I actually play this one. I'm a huge tactical game fan. This is Meteor Down. It is a roguelike deck builder where the cards actually act as characters on a hexagonal grid tactics game. So you build out a deck, you play them, you place a unit in the grid, and you actually fight characters in the grid. It recently got accepted into Steam Next Fest, and you can find the demo in Steam Next Fest right meow. And another third game that came out of this program. And by the way, the 4-month thing is new. All of the previous cohorts were only 3 months. So all 3 of these games were built in 3 months. Y'all will have an extra month on top of this. This is Keep It Together. This is one of my favorite games that has ever come out of the program, specifically because it was absurdly large. This is 12,000 lines of unique dialogue. 12,000 lines. We tried to stop them, and they refused. They said, nah, we're finishing it. So this is an example of how big you can really get. It's a narrative game, a multi-choice adventure game where you are the business administrator on a space station, and you are going to retire in 2 weeks, and you're just trying to keep it together before you get to escape. You can, in fact, not keep it together and accidentally blow up the space station. It's good fun. All right, so those are some examples of the games our students have made over time. In IGA 3, you're going to follow these 5 classic production milestones. You're going to form your team. You're going to go into pre-production where you come up with a game. You're going to move into alpha, where you build a alpha version, a representative version of the game, move into beta, then into release and launch. The program is twice a week, 2 hours per night, live classes. It actually happens inside of a virtual castle. I'm not even kidding. It happens on Gather. Shit's awesome. Here, let's just go in there. Why not? If you don't know what Gather is, it's amazing. It's basically Zoom with extra steps, but the extra steps are worth it. I have a character. I join the Indie Game Academy, and here I am in the actual classroom. Some of you have probably been here before, but I'm just going to walk out front. Oh, wait, let's bring our dog. Here, come here. All right, great. I can go out front. Oh, my dog didn't follow me. That's tragic. Garbage game. Here's the entrance hall. And then, of course, here's the front of the castle, where you first enter the D&D Game Academy. We gamify the heck out of it. That's why you take class in the castle. So classes are Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. It is live inside of our castle. It goes from October 24th, next Tuesday. We're about to start. Applications close tonight. And it goes until February 22nd. The first 4 weeks, you'll be in pre-production, where you are forming your house. It is literally a house cup that you can win depending on your 4 ancient noble houses. either cleric, house warrior, house ranger, or house rogue. The very first day is the sorting ceremony. Please tell me in the chat which house you think you are. In pre-production, you'll be coming up with a prototype, testing out your game. Once you decide on which game you're actually building, you'll move into alpha, where you create a simple version of your game that is playable from start to finish, but probably is missing a bunch of features and is buggy. Then you'll move into beta, where you have a feature complete version of your game, probably still needs polish, but has everything, all the bells and whistles that need to be there. Then you'll move into release, where you actually launch your game to the App Store, Google Play Store, or Steam, whichever one your team decides upon. And then you will pitch your game to a live audience of prestigious judges from around the industry. This is Andy Lee. He's one of our success stories. He's just a good guy, so we like to talk about him. Andy Lee is currently a senior QA analyst at Zynga, and he says, I'm very excited that I recently got a test engineering job at a company making VR concert experiences. This is actually before he got hired at Zynga. During my interviews, I was questioned more than once about my current endeavor with the Indie Game Academy and doing Unity programming in a group project. I believe it directly impacted me getting the job. Now, we're also super pumped about the professors for this cohort. I love who we've managed to bring in. We have Victor Blanc. He's taught for us a couple of times, one of my favorite people in the world. He is super sweet. He'll be talking about visual design and how to make your game beautiful. Each of these professors will be in class for a full week. So you'll have 2 days with each of them, and each team, so each team of like 5, will have one of these people act as their dedicated advisor for the entire 4 months. So Victor is from Minecraft Dungeons. He is an art director on Minecraft Dungeons. Then we have Karina Diaz from Mighty L, incredibly smart person, talking about marketing and community building. Then we have Athena Peters, co-founder and CEO at Rainbow Unicorn Games, who will be talking about project management. Then we have Tony Sharma, who's creative director at Duel Masters. Like, he runs all of Duel Masters. If you don't know Duel Masters, it's on par with like Yu-Gi-Oh! He runs Yu-Gi-Oh! Or a Yu-Gi-Oh! Equivalent. And he is the creative director there. He's going to be talking about game design. Next, we have Nikki Silber, narrative designer at Telltale Games. They will be talking about narrative design. Then we have Justin Williams, who's also appearing this weekend. If you want to learn from Justin Williams, but don't think the program is for you, once again, he'll be coming to teach during our portfolio jam. Where did we go? There we are. So he'll be talking about next steps, getting hired in the game industry, that whole process. And then there's me. That's me. I am Willem Delventhal, game designer at Paradox Interactive. I largely act as something like a host for the program. So I'll be teaching a lot of the lessons in between the actual professors, and I'll just be cheering you on, getting you pumped, getting you excited as you go. The core changes, we iterate every single time we run this program. We make it better every single time. So this time around, it's 4 months long for the very first time. It used to be 3 months. This time around, each team has a dedicated advisor from one of the professors. This time around, the students are a little bit, we're stricter with who gets in to make sure you have really good teammates. We also train the prefects, who are your project leads, ahead of time. And you will also start with a game jam. At the very beginning of the program, you're actually going to do a small game jam with your team to just kind of work out all the kinks right away. After you graduate, we have postgraduate career support. Every single one of our programs after you graduate is 50% off, so you can always come and join something. And we have postgraduate support. We have an interview hotline. If you ever get an interview, you hit a big red button and we'll show up and help you ace that interview, and a number of other ways that we support. All right, does anybody have any questions about the program itself before we talk about pricing and scholarships? How often do you run the program? I don't think I'm ready for level 3, but would love to eventually get the chance. I'm so glad to hear that. I would love to have you in, of course, in the next one, but if the next one's not right for you, we run it twice a year. So generally we run it towards the end or beginning of the year. So that's this one. And then we run it around June or July will be the next one of 2024. Yep. And there's also level 1 and level 2, but level 3 is the one that's coming up. So that's what I'm pitching to all of you right now. Shame for students, but I'm excited to have something to share with my friends who struggle to break into the industry. Yes. Does level 0 open up? Yeah, so level 0, there is one in the Discord right now. If you already joined the Discord, level 0 is what we call our little taster classes, which are generally just 2 hours long. Dylan is teaching a level 0 on Friday, where he's going to show you, I think it's Flappy Bird this time, but you can check. If you go into our Discord and click on the events, we run so many free events like all the time, including this one. And so I think our technical professor, Dylan, is teaching one on Flappy Bird on Friday of this week. We just ran a bunch of level 1s and level 2s which is why I'm not talking about them. All of those classes are live. I hate recorded classes. The average recorded class has about a 5 to 10% completion rate. Our courses have a 75 to 95% completion rate because we make them fun, we invest in you, we try to make sure that you stay around and enjoy yourself and learn a lot. But as a result of that crazy difference, we just don't bother with recorded classes. We record a lot of the stuff that we teach live, but we don't deliver static classes because they just kind of suck. So level 1 is a weekend-long live class. We just ran one the other weekend. The next one will probably be early December, I would guess. It is not yet posted. If you're in our Discord, you'll see it posted. The level 2 is a month-long technical introduction. So we get you up to speed building your own games as a solo developer. We also just finished one of those. So the next time we're going to run that is probably January. Hi, Daisy. I will see you later, Ed. So here, Ed, before you go, if this is sounding interesting to you, oh shit, I don't have it up here. I would love to have you consider applying. Applications close tonight. So as long as you get them in the next like 10 or so hours, you can be considered for the program. Applications take about 15 or so minutes. Just give us your honest thoughts and feelings. In general, we have 3 different qualifying factors. Basically, 1, your personal need to join the program. Number 2, your likelihood to contribute to the team. And then number 3, your cultural fit, if we think you're a cool person. So spend some time writing out those typed up questions. Okay, so to summarize, you're gonna get 32 live class sessions, 2 hours each. You're gonna get 16 live office hour sessions to help you figure out code and stuff. You're gonna get an indie game team of your own little indie studio of 4 to 5 people. You're gonna get access to 7 veteran professors, 1 dedicated team advisor from among those professors who works with you more deeply, access to a game dev TA to help you figure out technical problems, a published monetized game of your own design to a store of your choice, the chance to pitch your game to 4 to 5 actual game publishers at the end of the program, a community of wonderful magical wizards, and more. So the price of the price of the class at large is $3,400. We do things a little bit differently. This is the most you'll ever pay, so it actually only goes down from here. The way that you make it go down is, number 1, this $3,400 is a payment plan. You can pay it over 4 months or over 6 months. But if you choose to pay it with just 1 payment, that makes our lives easier. We don't have to do any accounting or anything like that. So we do give you a 10% discount if you do a one-time payment. So we're grateful for you doing that. There are also scholarships available. The higher level scholarship that you ask for, the less likely you are to get in because we only have so many to give out. But the scholarships do go down to as low as $800. And like I said, your personal need is a part of how we decide that. Because all of you got through this event tonight, I also will do a classic salesy thing and knock off the price right now. Wow. Essentially, I talked to the team. And for those classes that people are a little bit more invested, like this one, thank you for sitting through here. About half of you sat through the entire talk. So thank you for doing that with me. Because you did that with me, I'll give you immediately 20% off to hopefully incentivize you to come and join. So class will actually be $2,700 or $2,300, depending on how you pay. And this 20% off will apply to any scholarships you get. So you can apply for a scholarship, get the scholarship, and still get 20% off of that scholarship. Basically, we try to ride the line between like, we're making enough money to bring in these incredible professors. We do pay all of these people. We pay everybody we work with. But we want it to, of course, be accessible for good people. So if you apply tonight and applications do close tonight, I don't mean to pressure you. It's just, that's when they close. They close tonight. It only takes 15 minutes. Applications are non-binding. So if you don't get the scholarship that you're after, or you're not feeling it tomorrow, that's okay. We'll be a little bit sad, but that's okay. So if you're at least feeling like, yeah, I might want to do this, I would encourage you to apply. I will drop the link one more time. And remember to use that code Portfolio Night to get 20% off. All right, so that's truly the end of it. Blue, the person in the chat, is actually working with us this cohort. Blue is one of our prefects even, acting as one of our team leads. So Blue may even be your project manager if you choose to join us this next time around. Okay, that is truly everything now. Anybody have any other questions? Holy God, it's 10:20. For some of you, it's even later. I'm sorry. Whew, my throat is going right now. It's gone. Thank you, Alec. It's been a lot of fun. I love this community. Work with Denise is awesome. I love talking with all of you. Only 717 per soldier. Well, you think you're so cool. Just kidding. I'm glad for you. Don't have any skills in making games yet. Yeah, so we do have a requirement for level 3 specifically that you have released at least one game online. If you are gung-ho about joining, if you're really excited to join, we will work with you to get you a game by Tuesday. Class starts on Tuesday, next Tuesday. So we'll get you a video and some instructions on how to get a game up and quickly, so that way you are prepared to go. So if you're like, I really want to do this, we'll help you do it. We'll help you figure it out. It's freaking 3:20 for Lane. Dang. Thank you, Lane, for being here with us. All right. Any other questions or anything about any of the stuff that we've talked about? I'm still recording. I probably should have stopped a while ago. It's fine. Any other questions? Do you have to apply with the team? Oh, great question, Pamela. No, we sort the team for you. So you join our program, we give you an indie studio. That's actually a huge part of how we do things, and part of why we have to stop taking applications tonight, even though class starts on Tuesday, because we need the time to sort the teams. The way we sort them is, number one, the top priority is making sure it's a functional team. So we'll take a 3D animator and we'll take a 3D art modeler, and we'll put them together, and then we'll grab a programmer and we'll put them there, and we'll grab a project manager and we'll put them there. Everything, basically we put together a team that we believe have all the skills they need to build a game. And then secondarily, we're just trying to make, teams that are going to have fun together and enjoy being together. It is also, you also will be sorted into one of those 4 houses, which is fun. So we try to, in fact, I can grab the sorting quiz because it's just a fun time. So we also that's our third priority, making it so that you fit the house. What's the quiz name? Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, not analytics. What the? Oh, it's the editor, that's why. Hold on. I just have to give you this because it's so cute. And I'm proud of it. Me and the core team built it together. Okay, here it is. There we go. This is our magical sorting quiz to find out your house. All right. Any other questions? As a prefix, you get to hear my awesome jokes as a bonus. All right. So I will promise that if any of you apply, I will not put you on Blue's team. Huge bonus. You'll be on somebody else's team. Any other questions? I got maybe 2 more questions in me. So whatever you got, I'm going to drop all the links again, all the important links. So here, now that we're done with the slideshow, nope, not 1 minute. Here is the deck itself. And like I said, I'm going to drop all these links in the event chat tomorrow as well. There's the slideshow itself. Here is our Discord, if you would like to come join us on Discord. Here is the application for level 3. And then I think that's it. Are there any other links that people are wanting or needing? There you go. All right. How will people know if their application was accepted? Yes. So I don't have a hard date for when we're going to get back to you, but because class starts on Tuesday, you're going to hear from us probably Thursday or Friday would be my guess, with either an acceptance or rejection. For the most part, what we're going to do is offer you a specific scholarship. We're going to say, hey, here's what we can give you. And then you get to decide whether or not you accept that. We'll also be giving you a little bit, some goodies ahead of time. We're now pretty close to class. This is truly the last couple of applications we're going to be getting in. But we give out some freebies, some tutorials and stuff like that that we feel like you should follow that will help you prepare for class. All right, any last questions? Since the course starts in February, ends in February, does enrollment for level 3 open again after that? Yes. We'll probably even post it before the end of this current cohort. It's just that we haven't finalized the date. And we're actually, we've just recently hired somebody to redo our whole website. So we're in the process of doing that. So part of this is just that we're waiting for that to be done so that we have somewhere central to post all of this. But that'll be a little while. It's going to be a big website, doing a lot of stuff. Time to save money for the next one. Well, hopefully you come join the next one. If nothing else, like I said, there's so much free stuff on the Discord all the time. One of the things that I'm really grateful for in our community is that we've created a sense of teaching each other. So there's tons of, we actually have community members teach each other, and we award house points for that because of course we do. Oh, Tiny Justice is house cleric. Oh, the clerics are dominating this cohort for some reason. Actually, here, I'll just show, I'll show you all the house cup. I have a couple house points that I have to award, but here's our current standings. Currently, clerics are wrecking, even though they're supposed to be all higher purpose and inclusive and stuff. They're just dominating, and then the rogues are trailing, and then warrior and ranger are just trying to keep up. It's been so fun. This is the first time that the whole community competes for the House Cup together, and it was a really great change. People really love it. I really love it. Okay, I am definitely going to go now. This has been a lovely time. I've greatly enjoyed hanging out with all of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving